Okay, I think we might be good. Um, I have the layout up, and to be honest with you, my scoreboard is not working exactly, so I'm going to kind of be doing that on the fly. But that's all right. Let me go ahead and hide this for now. Studio mode. And then currently waiting on Yep, currently waiting on the first match. Let's see now. Then, once that started, I think we'll be good to go. Let's see. All right, we are in game. Welcome, everybody. It is a little bit scuffed, and I think that it shouldn't really be any other way because this is a narwhal bracket as much as it is a PRIDEfgc bracket. And here we are. We've got a Gashadon, a Alolan Golem, actually, and a lot of bullshit ahead of us. So I hope everybody is quite excited for that. Honestly, all things considered, I might just end up doing away with the full overlay and putting some text on screen. Because I don't want that there. Decided that that might honestly be funnier. Currently just waiting on either players to I think I do not have desktop audio. There we go. Let me remember to have desktop audio. That's important. I hope I'm not too loud for it, but I guess we'll see what happens. I need to mute my Discord sounds. Fuck. I don't remember where streamer mode is. Alright, just gonna mute that. Alright. Matches are going. I think matches are going anyways. Yep, I think we're all good. Checking into this. Looks like... Alright, Hazel switching around with a... Oop, yeah, that looks so buggy in the overlay. That's really funny. Guja taking the first with Power Whip, then Raw Draco onto the Azelf. Azelf can't do too much about this. Another Draco, even at -2, will probably kill. Don't think... it could be Assault Vest. Did I look at the... it does kill anyways. And Hazel, FGC currently 2 Pokemon up. Looking good so far. Alright, do I need to put anything else on screen? I guess I should add the game. Maybe I'll do that in between, but we're not really doing anything super important. Odin's Eye Gaming, putting a whole bunch of pride in the chat. Thank you for that. Lunity X, finally a game I understand. Yeah, me too. Sometimes I feel like that. Finally a game I understand. Alright. Into the Mischievous, switch into the Tyranitar. Draining Kiss does not do enough to it, and will probably continue to not do enough to it, because 13% is just not a lot. But does get a Will-O-Wisp off, which is progress against the T-Tar. Another Draining Kiss goes off. I'm not entirely sure that staying in with Mischievous is the correct play here. Probably... I mean, unless there's just nothing else better, but that is possible. You know, getting a... getting a Gastrodon, an Azelf, and a Mischievous on your Radbats, like game 1, it's like... I might quit the tournament at that point. Hello, other people in the chat. Also, while everybody's here, do the levels sound okay? Because I tried checking and then decided that it was pretty difficult to do so myself. Hopefully I'm not too loud and the game isn't like screeching at you. Fingers crossed. Sounds good too. Alright, cool. People are saying that it sounds alright. And that's perfect. That's quite good enough. As we're sitting here waiting for Polar Wolf to decide what they are going to send in. You know, I know it's a Pride tournament. I definitely forgot to check anybody's pronouns. I will do my best to do that during the tournament. Dynamic Punch! No guard Dynamic Punch from Golem. Who doesn't want to see it? Not Life Orbed, notably. Typically, I believe that means it is choiced. Which does suck specifically against Ice Cube, because hitting Ice Cube with a physical move does get it turned into this cute little penguin form, where it is now the fastest fucking thing. It actually might be tied for the fastest thing in Ranbats in this form at 0. I believe Wugtrio is the only other thing that's comparable. Could be wrong about that. Did they bring Regieleki back? Regieleki might still be faster. But yeah, this thing at +4 is terrifying and can kind of just Ice Spinner probably through the rest of that team. Unless the confusion does something absolutely horrible to Hazel. Not going to go through on this turn. Alright, Polar Wolf has 1 Pokemon left. Let's see what it is. Still no Terra burned, if I'm correct. Now, a Terra might be able to save this Hawlucha, but I'm actually not entirely confident that it will. This is a very scary situation. Ice Cube is a hilarious Pokemon, and in Ranbats I think it is incredibly scary if you don't know what you're doing against it, or if you just ran out of special attackers. And also he's adorable, and I get to, or she's adorable, and I get to look at her, and she's a cute penguin. In fact, we could switch viewpoint. Look at how cute that penguin is. It is oh so pixelated. Terra Electric, just to confirm the kill, is pretty funny. But, alright, let's go ahead and see. Waiting on them to do the next match here. Right. as a reminder, it is first to 2. Which means there is at least one more match in this set. It seems like they are reporting, so perhaps just waiting on that. Let me quickly refresh this. Onside Gaming, huge thank you to everyone here TOing, coming, and playing for PRIDEfgc today. You're all incredible. You're making a difference, raising hope, and helping normalize conversations one Pokeball toss at a time. That would hurt me. I appreciate it, though. Thank you for all the love. Alright, so still waiting on the second match of this. Not sure if there's complications or unclear about the rules. Dropping a quick message, maybe. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Game 2. We've got Bellybolt and Jirachi. As a reminder, PRIDEfgc is up 1. My scoreboard is broken, and I don't know if I'm going to fix it at the end of this bracket. I guess I can try to put stuff in. However, I don't know if I want to do that right now because there's a Bellybolt on screen. And I fucking love Bellybolt. Hello, Meta Mischief in chat. I always forget that you are here. Oh, there's no longer a Bellybolt on my screen, unfortunately, and I have to look at Urshifu, which is much worse, because that's not Bellybolt. I wonder if I should hide my fucking cursor in all these. I probably should. Oh, something just happened. Uh-oh. There we go. Alright, okay, I think we're good now. Bellybolt is a better plush than a Pokemon. It's a pretty great pet. I would love a Bellybolt plush. That'd be so cute. There's a Doduo killing an Urshifu, which always makes me happy. And Bellybolt is back in! Let's go! Look at him, he's so cute. He's just there bouncing. I feel like I didn't like this Pokemon until I saw it in 3D and moving. Because definitely seeing it just like in Ranbats as like a pixel artist, it's kind of whatever, and like its artwork is kind of fine, and then you just see it there and just bouncing, and it's like, oh, this is wonderful. Torterra's in now, pretty notably, usually a Shell Smash Pokemon, either with White Herb or Loaded Dice and Bullet Seed. Can be a relatively threatening sweeper in Ranbats. And there is still the Jirachi in the back, so you kind of have to keep something faster than Jirachi. Because if you have anything slower than Jirachi at the end of the game, then like you're in hell and you're gambling, and that's all you've got. But the Bellybolt plush sounds wonderful. I actually did get I got my girlfriend a Snorlax plush that's like 4 foot by 4 foot, and we stuffed it with foam together, and it's just a little, like, tiny little seat, basically, like a little beanbag chair, but it's a Snorlax, and it's wonderful. The Brambleghast comes in. I think Terra Rock Blast should kill off of the guaranteed. Oh no, one off, but he clicks spikes! No! Oh, that is not a good situation. That spikes. I really, really hope that one spike does a lot for you, Polar Wolf. Unfortunately, probably really needed to hit the Torterra on that turn. Maybe they thought that it wouldn't do that much, but I think 2 headlongs, if it has headlong, are still going to kill, so it's usually worth hitting it anyways. I'm scared for my life. respectable, respectable. Now, however, there is a pretty quick turtle, actually. Not normally very fast, but a fast turtle is a scary prospect indeed. Some of the scariest things in this world are slow things that are now moving fast. And like I said, a pretty threatening sweeper overall. I don't think it can one-shot Mabastiff unless it gets a crit, even with Terra? I could be wrong about that. So, perhaps this is the play. Unfortunately, I don't think Mabastiff will kill it in return, and unless it's Banded. Banded Crunch might do it. I do think sometimes about... Because you have to give analysis when you're a Pokemon tournament runner, and like... When someone's just like watching your stream and like making decisions, it's like the opposite of stream sniping. Alright, 2 crunches from the Mabastiff will do it though. If it's faster, you can assume that it's probably Choice Scarfed. And Bastiodon is not a bad switch in here. Bastiodon will eat not very much damage from Crunch if it's Scarfed, and can probably just Iron Defense for free. If it were me, probably wouldn't stay in too much longer in this situation. Polar Wolf, though, is going for KOs, which is respectable. You know, it's always respectable to go for the kill. Hazel is up at +2 Iron Defense. With a Body Press, I mean, this will absolutely kill the Mabastiff, but you probably, if it's in here, you may want to try to boost it up to kill something else, perhaps. Goes for the Body Press here instead, at about 53%. Honestly, the Belly Bolt angle here is not looking too bad, all things considered. Palisade comes in instead, and I'm honestly pretty okay with this because it is immune to Body Press and will take very little from the rest of Bastiodon's moves, and actually outspeeds and kills it in Ranbats. I kind of forgot. That's how the speed works out. Victory Bell in now. Bell is going to set up, and again, pretty concerning, but Polar Wolf does still have Terra on deck, can potentially use it if need be. Eats a Sucker Punch instead of a Power Whip, which will actually let Polar Wolf secure the kill. And now we're in a little bit of a situation. Now, Belly Bolt can run this back, because in the 1v1 it should theoretically be Jirachi. However, Jirachi is RNG hell, especially when you're slower than it. Serene Grace plus Iron Head means that you are just going to have to fucking sit there and hope that you can actually hit it. And if you can't, fucking G's. It's time to crash out like Jimothy Cool did that one time that we're never going to let him live down. Alright, no flinch, gets through once, hits a Thunderbolt. One more Thunderbolt with a charge should kill if Belly Bolt gets the attack off, and it does! 2 non-flinches from Jirachi. You kind of love to see it, to be honest with you. And a Dunsparce comes in. Fortunately, I think... Bellybolt has Slack Off, and that is a bud that is usually worth it to quick because Earthquake is not doing 50%. I believe it usually also runs Toxic, which means that it actually might be doable for Polar Wolf if they play their cards right. Eat a Body Slam and Thunderbolt again. This is a little scary. I don't think it's quite an Earthquake range, but crit is always going to be scary. Charge. Does Charge Thunderbolt do it? Oh, nope. Gonna Slack Off again. Fair enough. I respect it. May as well play safe in case Charge 1 Thunderbolt doesn't kill. And here, the Charge Thunderbolt does kill. Polar Wolf gets game 2, meaning that we are going to a game 3. Isn't that exciting? Alright, let's go ahead and just go ahead and wait for them to get the next room up for that. I was scared for my life. Crit came a turn late. Tragic. That crit did come a turn late. That situation is really rough for Dunsparce. It's so... Also, getting... As much as I despise Jirachi, hitting 2 Iron Heads and neither of them flinching is also real tragic. Yeah, even I can appreciate the sobriety of the situation here. Alright, and it looks like we have game 3 set up. Hazel FGC with a Hawlucha out, and Polar with a Sableye. Most of the time, I would say you probably don't want to leave your Hawlucha in against Sableye, and Hazel FGC agrees with that and switches into Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh, notably a pretty interesting defensive threat in Ranbats. Does also have offensive power by just letting Sacred Fires rip, but is mostly used to spread burn with Sacred Fire and pivot around using Regenerator. So not, like, the most scared of Sableye. It can, like, usually 2-hit KO it if it needs to, but it doesn't always need to do that. I keep, like, seeing... Oh, we're getting an ad? God damn it. I forget to run those ahead of time. Alright, gonna go ahead and knock off the Ho-Oh and paralyzed. Unfortunately, can't move. Another knockoff. This is tragic. Now, it is pretty easy to save Ho-Oh here, but you would have to... 3 in a row? This game sucks. This game sucks. What the hell? Alright, switching into the Sylveon after a... again, sobering situation. I've been pinged, and I should probably mute those. Alright, sorry, answering a question in chat. Gonna go ahead and paralyze Sylveon, which immediately echoes it with Hyper Voice, as it normally would. Unfortunately, Hazel down a Pokemon and information with the Hawlucha revealed here, which does kind of suck, as well as a Paralyze on Sylveon. Obviously, it's Ranbats. Literally anything can happen. There can still be a Koraidon, or a Miraidon, or even a Spectrier in the back. Instead here, we're getting Sandy Shocks in on the Dodrio. Knock off the heavy-duty boots. Sandy Shock probably doesn't need the boots. If Ranbats are pretty weird. They don't always have hazards on a lot of the teams, so a lot of times you can get away with not having to have boots on a lot of these Pokemon. So really, it could be worse. Goes for knockoff again. This is probably a choice dojo, I'd guess? No, it uses Blazeberg early, didn't it? Did it? Am I insane? No, dojo is just moving knockoff. Sandy Shock's gonna go for Thunderwave and then Thunderbolt. I think this is a new 3D model. I don't think Sandy Shocks has been 3D model for too long. The 3 pairs in a row. So yeah. The three paralyzes were fucking ridiculous. This game sucks. This is an interesting model from the. What's it look like from the front? Interesting. Weird. That's kind of cool though. Malamar out on screen now. Not necessarily the greatest matchup into Sandy Shocks because you really prefer to come in on something physical that you can set up it with superpower. And getting Thunder or Paralyzed isn't the worst thing with Malamar because it usually does have Rest Talk. However, if you just fucking get Paralyzed, then yeah, it fucking sucks, doesn't it? Eating Earth Powers, going for Psycho Cut instead of Superpower. Does do a little bit more damage, I think. Terra Electric Thunderbolt for the kill. The Sandy Shock putting in some work and bringing Hazel up to a 5-3 lead here. Fortunately for the Sandy Shocks, the camera up is going to come in and get a kill here. Probably not going to keep the Sandy Shocks alive. Now, me personally, I would have thrown in the Halucha. I would have balled the fuck out. But going to bring the Halucha in here instead. Just going to hit a close combat on it. Doesn't quite kill, but does let you use White Herb to get the boost from Unburden. And lives in Overheat. I actually did not expect Overheat to do that much off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I kind of forgot that Camerup is 91 in Ranbats. Halucha is not very healthy, but is also very fast right now. And does have a boosted Acrobatics. It's typically on deck with this set. I don't remember if it can really have too much else. It can have a couple things. We usually on this set is Acrobatics. I don't know if that's enough to kill a Tropius in one hit. This Pokemon is weirdly bulky in Ranbats. Goes for the Brave Bird, and it does not kill in one hit, and then will die to Recoil. But Hazel has a Galarian Slowbro to come in and Shell Sidearm the Tropius to death after eating an Earthquake. Polar Wolf on their last Pokemon, with 3 left to go, and it's an Arceus Fire. You know, in terms of last Pokemon, ending up with an Arceus could be worse. Arceus Fire is pretty interesting. Ranbat set. I think it's the usual, like, Calm Mind, Judgment, Recover, probably Earth. Oh, no, I lied. Extreme Speed. What the fuck is this thing set? Oh, I wonder if it's physical. Unfortunately, it is currently blanking into a Slowbro. Does this thing get any set-up moves? It does learn Swords Dance. Unfortunately, it's getting paralyzed right now. It might still have Swords Dance Recover. But no, it has a Fire move, so it can't have both of them. Are you going to Terrafire Flare Blitz? Absolutely sending it against this Slowbro, who is sitting there and looking absolutely adorable, to be honest with you. Oh, the Para into the Slack Off. Yeah, I mean, we're about para for para now in terms of the overall game count. And with that, Hazel is going to take the set. Congratulations to Hazel for moving on. And Polar Wolf, we will see you in the losers bracket. In the meantime, I think there's actually another match to look at. Yep. So here we are with Barry Andon and Fish for the Launch. Now, I'm gonna check this. I remember Barry Andon from last year. They might have won it, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna take a look-see and see if I can find that bracket from last year and pull it up really quickly. Alright, and we're in. Polytoad is hitting Surf on Snorlax. Snorlax is hitting Body Slam back, and they are doing pretty comparable amounts of damage to each other. I think Snorlax will win this in the long run. I think. Could be wrong. I'm trying to see if I can find the bracket from last year. Going for another Surf, going for another Body Slam. Ooh, the para. With the Paralyze, I believe Snorlax will win this 1v1. Yep, just gets the Body Slam again. What will Fish for the Launch be sending in? Yep, I've confirmed Barry Andon is in fact the defending champion. Won last year's Pride bracket for Pokemon Showdown. Gonna go ahead and switch Swallow into a Toxic Close Combat, and you're really not concerned if you're Swallow in this situation. I don't think there's too much that, well, you know, maybe an Earthquake. An Earthquake will do something, but if it's Choice Banded, then it's stuck doing Close Combat, which is just not doing enough to you. I guess an Earthquake on the Necrozma Duskmane. But I actually don't know if that's what you wanted, because now it's boosted up. And, in a little bit of a threatening situation here. I believe this is threatening a kill with Photon. Is it slower than fucking Swallow? What the fuck? 147, 150. It is slower than Swallow and Ranvats. Dude, Ranvat speeds never fail to fuck me up. I always forget that they are just insane. The speed tiers. Right, looks like everything else is more or less running smoothly. Sorry, just checking another rest of bracket, just in case. Just want to see what's going on. We're doing alright then. Sorry, tuning back in. Okay, alright, where are we at? There's a Snorlax on screen again, eating Drain Punches from Trevenant. I think another Drain Punch would kill here, so switching into Pekkarunt is an interesting play. Do you outspeed at 180, 150? You do outspeed. Which means this is better for Pekkarunt, but I don't think it could kill even with a... Ooh, just pivots around with Party. Oh, man, alright. A player after my own heart. Shout out to Barry Andon. Truly, truly, truly. Pivoting into Arboliva on the Toxicroak, maybe looking to bait something out with Protect, assuming that the Toxicroak is Choice, which I think you can confirm it is at this point. Gonna Terra instead, and okay, that is certainly a play that is a very aggressive use of Terra here. So just gonna start setting up with Substitute Leech Seed, probably gonna leech the Electros again. Eats a Supercell Slam. Now, if this thing does have Protect, Supercell Slam will do 50% recoil if you do it into a Protect, which I think is what's about to happen here. Yes, it is. Which means Electros eating a lot more damage from that. Gonna go ahead and hit another Supercell, which is no longer resisted. Chooses to go for the Hyper Voice instead of setting up another leech, substitute Leech Seed, which I think is interesting. Could use Protect to scout out the ban here, going for Terra Dark knockoff instead of an Earthquake, which doesn't kill the Arboliva, but as it's switch, okay, things are happening. Trevenant is immune to both of Arboliva's moves, so could have potentially considered switching this in earlier. Fortunately, Poltergeist is failing again. It's going on. This turns felt AI fucking generated. What am I watching? Sorry, I genuinely could not keep up with that sequence of play. It's a level beyond me. Gonna go ahead and Shadow Ball into the Toxicroak. Doesn't get the kill with a knockoff, unfortunately, and eats a parting shot for failing to do so. The Pekron is low, which means it really can't switch into too many things very effectively anymore. However, you do still need to be a little careful when you switch into a Choice Band Terra Dark knockoff from a Toxicroak. Beartic is not a bad option. I believe can set up and can potentially get a kill here, but I don't think you can really increase its speed that easily. Oh, never mind. I forgot they added this set to Ranbats. Alright, it is Snowscape. That is now a fast as fuck bear. This is going to go ahead and hit Icicle Crash. Now, Toxicroak comes back in. Fortunately, Sucker Punch is just not going to do enough. It is going to go down to a close combat. And, Barry looking pretty commanding with a 4-1 lead here, and it is a Florges. Just gonna hit Protect. I think Barry probably just hits Icicle Crash until something dies and then goes from there. Eats a Moonblast, clicks Snowscape again instead of fishing for the kill. Maybe reading that a Protect was gonna happen. The ideal play is just that you get Florges in a situation where it dies after. Ooh, that flinch sucks. Gonna have to Protect here to try to keep itself alive. You really, really want this Florges to not be at full health once Beartic goes down. Because that makes it a lot easier for the rest of your team. Unfortunately, not gonna be the case. Actually, pretty decent sequencing from Fish for the launch. Even through the flinch. Now, Pekkarunt is here, and Terra is gone. However, Pekkarunt does not usually carry Poison-type moves, and instead just Parting Shots out into a Snorlax who survives after the -1 from Parting Shot. Florida's not the heaviest hitter in the game, but does have Calm Mind. Unfortunately, gets paralyzed. Para has been the bane of this bracket's existence so far. Gonna go ahead and wish. If the Protect goes off, it might live. But unfortunately, it does not live the Raw Body Slam after getting fully paralyzed. And game 1 goes to Barry. Just gonna go ahead and wait for them to get into game 2 here. Here we are. And off the bat, Barry's got a Frostmoth facing down a Ninetales. Which is really not where you want your Frostmoth, like, on average. To be honest with you. Like, just in general. Hey, Narwhal, can you DQ me? Yeah, sure, Starlet. Sorry to see you go, but appreciate you letting us know anyways. Alright, gonna go ahead and switch into the Dragalge. While Ninetales proceeds to set up at +2. Scorching Sands is not quite going to 1-hit KO. Could potentially score the 2-hit KO. I think it's in range. It might not be. Maybe it doesn't do enough after the leftovers. I don't know if it's in range or not. However, is going to live another Draco Meteor, which means Ninetales is going to go ahead and secure the first kill of this game, probably. If they click a 100% accurate move, would be ideal here. Yep, going to finish off with Scorching Sands. And then just going to sit here and wait for a little bit. And Furret comes in, which is a little bit unfortunate. You'd like to usually get a little bit more damage off with this Ninetales, but Furret is going to be a little too quick and just going to pivot out, likely into the Frostmoth to retain information, but instead goes into Rhydon. Interesting. There's somebody in chat congratulating Hazel on their win in the first round. Congratulations, Hazel. Official launch going to go ahead and chuck in a Breloom, which is pretty scary to be staring down, unless you have an Amoonguss. Official launch goes for the Swords Dance instead of the Spore, though. And I actually don't know if that really helps you that much of this, unless you Terra Rock Tomb, I guess. Okay. Again, we are going balls to the wall. And, oh, there is news in the player chat. In PRIDEfgc and Char's match, Char got a full-on shiny Lycanroc. That's awesome. Let me see if I can pull that up quickly so that the chat can see. Here is, I know it's Scott to tell, but here is the full-on shiny Lycanroc. Alright, there we go, back to the match. Char got it? Yeah, Char pulled a full-on shiny. Sorry if I misspoke on that. That is fucking rad, actually. And I look back and there's a Terra Dragon Rhydon staring down a Kyurem, and I don't know how we got here anymore. However, switches into Frostmoth and eats the Outrage. I forgot that there's a mixed Kyurem set, which actually kind of sucks for Frostmoth because I don't think it can kill here. Misses the Hurricane. That's not going to be great for Barry. And Kyurem has one more Outrage left. Alright, gonna go ahead and put in Meloetta against this Outrage and see what you can do to set up on it. Maybe go for a Focus Miss. Fucking Focus Blast. And switches Decidueye into the next Focus Blast, so it doesn't even matter. Gonna go ahead and throw Rhydon in. Honestly, a Rhydon with, like, not shit typing has pretty decent defensive stats for Ranbats. Poltergeist at +2 is still gonna hurt, but Stoat Edge will do a decent grip to it. Is Decidueye faster than Meloetta? 73, 195. It isn't, which means Meloetta could potentially get a kill. Instead, going to go in with the Furret. U-turn or knockoff will kill here. Going to go for knockoff. Alright, Probopass. I fucking hate Probopass. I despise this Pokemon. What a ugly, disgusting Pokemon. Another Focus Blast missed! Oh, the Thunder Wave misses. Okay, we're good. We're good. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Just do it again, and it kills the... Alright, perfect. We're all good. Everything's totally fine. Gonna go ahead and Focus Blast the Cleavor again. I mean, I guess that is your best option, but unfortunately, not enough. And I believe that is going to take us to a game 3. I think Barry won the first one. All right, let's see. And here we are at game 3, and there's a fucking Great Tusk on screen. Yeah! Let's go! I love Great Tusk. This is one of my favorite Pokemon. He's so cute, and he also does like every fucking role in the game. I fucking love Great. Look at him! So unfortunately, does get burned by the Guja Scald, which sucks for... I can't believe this. This is Element Violence. Gonna go ahead and switch Vespiquen into the pretty predictable Headlong or Power Whip. Why is my Discord yelling at me? What is going on? I don't know why my Discord is yelling at me. I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, just gonna check in on the rest of the bracket. Looks like it's... Oops, I forgot to... Alright, everything else looks like it's going well. Gonna go ahead and Toxic the Phione, which is just not useful to do because Phione has Take Heart and I think Rest, which I believe if it rolls, I think it has Rest Talk, and if it rolls Take Heart from Rest Talk, it wakes up because this game is fucked actually. To be honest, the only way this could possibly be scarier is if Rest Talk could still also call Rest again, and you just heal anyways. This Pokemon might actually have like a niche somewhere if it did. Also, for those of you who were paying attention or watching, Qatar scored a goal and tied Switzerland 1-1 in the World Cup. Which sucks for me. I didn't have any bets on it, but I did want Switzerland to win. Tragically. Still mad that fucking Canada tied Bosnia yesterday. I'm pissed off. Motherfuckers letting me down every goddamn day. There's a Dunsparce on screen, and that's always a good thing. Unfortunately, Take Heart is going to remove this paralysis. And this is a pretty threatening Phione. Phione? I don't know. I'm just calling it an iPhone. Gets paralyzed again. Might want to consider clicking either Rest or Take Heart once more. Unless the paralyzed means that it can't move. In which case, Barry manages to sneak out of a bad situation using the incredible talent of Serene fucking Grace. Dunsparce is the shittiest Jirachi, but it is still a Jirachi. And that's what really matters at the end of the day. Unfortunately, I don't think it can hit this Miss Magius literally at all. I think Miss Magius is completely immune to Dunsparce. So anything that Miss Magius wants to do here, it can do with basic immunity, knowing that either switch or remove that's just not going to do anything is going to happen. Yep, Body Slam is immune. I mean, you may as well Nasty Plot until it switches out, right? Like, what's the harm? Alright. I'm back and tuned in. Just needed to zone out for all of 10 seconds. It's a very important part of streaming. You have to just zone every now and again. Alright, switches in the Great Tusk, who is unfortunately going to die to this +2 Shadow Ball from his Magius. I will no longer get to see the elephant this game. I am sad about it. That might be my favorite elephant, to be honest with you. He is so cute. And also, he's so good at roll compression. Get you an elephant that can do both. Embor switches in. This is just a matter of clearing the substitute and then trying to get something that can actually kill the Magius. Unfortunately, if it just gets a 2-KO, I don't know if it can. If this is an Assault Vest Embor, it actually might not be able to confirm the 2-hit KO with with Shadow Ball. And Terra types, I'm not sure they're going to help it. You know, after the Flare Blitz recoil, it might kill. Oh, the Sucker Punch doesn't do it, unfortunately, and the Shadow Ball does take it. Miss Magius is pretty fast relative to Ranbats, so it's 230. And again, you can switch in Dunsparce to just be immune. The problem is that Dunsparce literally can't do anything. Switches in Lunala instead, which will die to a Shadow Ball, so I'm assuming this is going to be a Terra play. I think this thing typically is Terra Fairy. At which point, well, it's pretty likely that it will just live. And I believe, can Moongeist even return? Terra options for Miss Magius are not great. Usually it carries something like Terra Fighting to hit Dark and Normal types. Lunala is going to Terra Fairy and eat about 32 and then Moongeist Beam. So Barry does manage to stop the threat of the Miss Magius. Will not be a sweep today. Does have to blow Terra on it, unfortunately. Fish for the launch goes ahead and tosses in a Diancie. Which will switch Press Calm Mind as Dunsparce switches in, and it is pretty unafraid of that. Gonna go for Draining Kiss. I think typically people go for Diamond Storm there because it's guaranteed to kill and you get the chance of the defense boost, but maybe won't need it. Unfortunately, this Earthquake, if it's choice banded, okay, just gonna Terra and dodge it. Alright. And the Draining Kiss back. I don't know if that's enough healing to win this 1v1. I don't think it is. Unless you get like a really... maybe it is. Maybe it's enough. Ooh, the roll. It is enough with one low roll from Earthquake. Lunala comes in. This is still not the worst situation for Diancie. It is ahead in boosts, so it can use that to its advantage. Unfortunately, it is not faster. But notably, Lunala may or may not have a recovery move, which might be the difference maker as Diancie has Draining Kiss. Gonna go for it there and heal up a little bit. You probably don't want to just let it boost for free. Yeah, typically you're gonna want to match it with your own Calm Minds. Which could end up coming down to crits if this goes the distance. I believe if they both boosted up without crits, Diancie would win it in the long run. Okay, well, alright. Never mind, we are ignoring the without crits possibilities because Lunala's got one. But oh, it has Moonlight. It has Moonlight on the set. Which I think might give it the edge, actually. Although it only has 6 more Moonlights, and Draining Kiss has like 16 PP total. How much fucking I have to... Yeah, 16. So, I'm doing... I think Diancie might still get it if they both boost to full, but I'm not confident anymore because of Moonlight and the fact that you take less damage when you're at full HP. Probably don't want to let it boost too far ahead. Oh, it has Psyshock. Ah, yes. I always forget that it has Psyshock. I'm like, oh yeah, it's Psychic, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, with Psyshock, this is now a very threatening Lunala, actually. Because the defensive boosts from Beyonce don't matter. It is going to kill it there. Fish for Launch of Terra is gone. And Barry with 2 Pokemon left, but not in a terrible position depending on what Fish for Launch has in the back. A single Steel type might be the problem here. A King Gambit would just be the most fucked up thing that you could do to Barry right now is switch in a King Gambit that you just had in the back of this random battle. Like if you really just wanted to make Barry DQ the fuck out of this tournament, then a King Gambit is definitely absolutely the way to go. However, based on the amount of time this decision is taking, I am not confident that Search for the Launch does have a King Gambit in the back. Instead, chooses to throw in Decidueye, who is not faster and will explode to a Moongeist Beam. And now all of a sudden they are even on Pokemon. Now it is just a Vespiquen in the back, which is sometimes a threatening Pokemon, because some Pokemon just can't match up into it, but it's not always the scariest thing. And Fish for the Launch's last Pokemon is a fucking Miraidon, which would have been great. Unfortunately, in this exact situation, it just does not help them. And Miraidon is going to go down, and I think that Goodra is very soon to follow. Going to Draco into a Fairy type, and that will be the set. Congratulations to Barry for moving on. Fish for the Launch, I wish you all the best on the losers bracket. Alright, checking in on the bracket. Looks like winner semis is moving along relatively well. I didn't really look too closely at the stream and realized that we are probably just about to have Barry on stream again. I'm sure that'll be fine. Oh, boy. Yep. Now you wait, Hazel. Time to just sit here and fuck around for an indeterminate amount of time. Fuck is stream? There we go. All right. Unfortunately, I think this bracket is going to slow down pretty dramatically, and oops, I need to reset the FNAF 2 background footage that I had going. I can go ahead and loop that. Couldn't possibly have the stream without our very important Five Nights at Freddy's 2 background footage. B-roll. What would I do? What would I do without it? Now, notably, I actually don't know if Skogreb is here. But I guess we will see. I really hope so. That would be quite nice for the rest of this bracket. catching up with the rest of the bracket, Hazel has triumphed over... the full username that I didn't get to read earlier was Char Real Smooth, which is a pretty damn good username. 2-1 to end up in winners finals, which awaits the winner of our next match, which I believe is happening because both players have checked in. So now we just gotta wait for the game to start. I love waiting for the game to start. I'm gonna drink some water because my throat's hurting. And I hope that does not come through too loud on the stream. Also, for anyone else interested, Brazil Morocco kickoff was not too long ago. And I will be annoying all of my friends with World Cup coverage this year, and they're just going to have to deal with it. Alright, I tune in to this set, and there is an Executor Alola on my screen. Mostly on my screen, it is too tall to be here. If anybody's curious as to why it's cut off on the bottom, that's not me. That is the Showdown client. I just finished my STF bracket run. What is STF? I don't recognize that one off the top of my head. Alright, these two players are just gonna start shooting shit at each other. There was a Sonic the Fighters bracket? Is that a Pride event? I have not been keeping up with all of the other Pride events. Is there a Sonic the Fighters Pride? Is that a thing that's happening? That's fucking ridiculous. Is Chovy Salts running that one? That sounds like something Chovy would do. I think they were running the mystery bracket. So I don't know if they're running the Sonic the Fighters bracket. Shout out to Chovy Salts. And I think Wii Sports are running the mystery. Alright. Hoopa has... Mystery is over. That is a really funny sentence, like, just to say, like, mystery is over. Everything is now known. Accent Core is happening, RN? Alright. What's going on over in Accent Core? Also, I didn't get to talk about it because a lot of that was happening, but there was a Hoopa just choosing to click Shadow Ball into a word ear and getting paralyzed for it. I did just want to mention, just in case anybody missed it. No idea, I just see OEG streaming in my sidebar. Yeah, fair enough. Loki, you might hop over though. Feel free. There's a lot of good Pride happening all over OEG this weekend. Hey, it's okay, it's GoGrab. We've all done it. We've all pulled some stupid bullshit before. Don't you worry. Fortunately, Barry is going to take first blood in the set with Word Ear Earthquaking the paralyzed Heatran. There's a lot of good Pride stuff happening in this bracket. I will be playing in exactly one other of them because I was only really interested in playing one more, which was the 2XKO bracket hosted by Sakura Shrine tomorrow. Very excited for that, and shoutouts to Sakura Shrine for letting me play my favorite fucking fighting game. There is a Blissey on my screen. Now, Word Ear actually does have 2 physical attacks, so this is not like the freest win for Blissey. Gonna Terra Ground Earthquake, I guess, to give it a better chance at doing that. Which is an aggressive Terra. Like, really, like, might not have been necessary, but I respect going for it. Sometimes you just see a Blissey and get really fucking mad. I understand. I see where you're coming from, and I respect your willingness to murder and just crack eggs. Who doesn't love cracking eggs during Pride Month? I don't know if Meta Mischief was still here to hear that one, but if she was, she will probably never let me live that down. It's okay. Happy Pride Month, everyone! I'm getting clipped. I'm getting clipped in Pride Month. It's happening. Alright, Brute Bonnet is on screen, Wordier is asleep, Spore's been used. I'm gonna go ahead and crunch a Bastion on. Brute Bonnet often carries fighting coverage, but does not always. So might not be the greatest time for Bastion to come in. Gonna go ahead and start Iron Defensing though, and Brute Bonnet is gonna be paralyzed. Skrograve staying in with it. Wanted to click something. I think this is a new 3D model for Brute Bonnet as well. Actually, I think this is relatively new. Honestly, it's kind of cute. I kind of like it. Eggman's new... The fuck did you call the clip? Eggman's new mixtape from Sonic Adventure 2 Fanta. Alright, Hoopa has come in and clicked Focus Blast. Switching in the Sleeping Wordier. Hoopa is typically choiced. I don't know if it always is. Ooh, it's either that or Life Form, so it's definitely choice, which means it is ostensibly stuck clicking Focus Blast here. Which is really never, ever what you want to be doing. Every time I get into a game state Pokemon where I have to click Focus Blast, I consider booting up a game with no RNG in it. Instead, going to switch Metagross in on the still sleeping Wordier. I think I might have called it Udier. I hope I didn't do that. Udier's a lot less cute than Wordier, to be honest. Weirdier, maybe? Alright. Wordier still asleep. Metagross is clicking Heavy Slam, which can 2-hit KO it, probably. Wordier can 2-KO with Earthquake in response, though, and is faster, so you've still got to be a little scared of this. Gonna wake up and click Thunder Wave and miss! Tragically. I'm gonna eat a Heavy Slam, and unfortunately, unless it gets a crit, it will go down to this Metagross. Barian is still in a pretty decent position overall, though. Really not too much to worry about right away. Again, a Terra Ground to take less damage from the Earthquake, and... Alright. We all want to be a ground type. And that's valid. It's a great type. I think Pinkacross said that it was the best type, according to Pinkacross. Gonna go and throw in Tatsugiri, who can kill with a Draco or a Hydro Pump, probably at this percentage, and also can just Rapid Spin away the rocks. Not sure if Metagross really can do too much in this situation, but... just a little bit of an unfortunate health bar. I think they usually pack weakness policy, and if you could live a Hydro Pump, then it might be doable, but unfortunately... Now, if it is a Surf instead of a Hydro Pump... ooh, the Hydro Pump misses? That is certainly something. It is Hydro Drum instead of Surf, which means the Surf calculation doesn't matter. And the Hydro Drum is going to hit this time, leaving Tatsugiri at 38, and Skogrev down to just 2 Pokemon, one of which is, I believe, a Choice Scarf Tupa, which is generally still useful to have. Endgame situations are usually pretty useful to have a Choice Scarf Pokemon in. OMG Narwhal, is that FNAF? That is, in fact, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 up in the corner. I heard Mystery Bracket had a bunch of 6-7 GIFs playing all over their stream. Which, to be honest with you, I kind of just... I really can't top that. 6-7. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Yeah, dude. Thank you for confirming, Meta Mischief. There is a Vikavolt on screen who is probably going to die to this Revelation Dance, which is a little unfortunate, but Hoopa can come in, is paralyzed. I kind of forgot, to be honest with you. It is going to fucking explode for this Revelation Dance. No, this is a good... It's not a bad substitute. I did think about putting more Five Nights at Freddy's on the screen, to be honest with you. Then we had a live performance from Merkava doing 6-7 for every $6.70 in our match. What the fuck are you talking about? I am so glad that Mystery Bracket is having a blast over there. Maybe next year I will have the time and resources to match your energy on the Narwhal stream, but unfortunately... those aren't real words. Hey, you know, at least some of those words are in the Bible. Like, at least some of them. Alright, Variandin and Skogrev in game 2. I kind of lost count. I think it was Q. I think we're in game 2. With the Grimmsnarl staring down a Regirock. Neither of these Pokemon really want to be against each other, to be honest with you, but I guess Regirock maybe has the advantage before Reflect. I don't even know. Gets taunted, so it can't do too much bullshit. Parting Shot does not work on it. Misses 2 fucking Stone Edges. 2 goddamn Stone Edges in a row. Alright, gonna go ahead and miss a 3rd Stone Edge on the Grand Bull switch in. So this is true, there is a Grabble on stream. That is correct, Connor. I can go ahead and give a little switch perspective to see Grabble from the front. You know, I think this thing is fugly, but I respect people who Christian. Alright, there's a fucking Jirachi on my screen, I'm mad. Oh, this despicable motherfucker. This despicable motherfucker. Gonna go ahead and get paralyzed, though, which makes Jirachi so much easier to deal with, because now so many things can be faster. Someone needs to love Grand Bull. That's true, somebody does need to love Grand Bull. It has to be somebody's job. It's not mine, I'm not gonna do it. Somebody else needs to. Now the Grand Bull Earthquake should kill Jirachi from this percent, if Barry chooses to go for the KO. It ain't me. It ain't you, Hazel. It ain't me either. Running out of people. Meta Mischief, perhaps? Are you going to be the Grand Bull lover in the chat? Low roll, hell watch. Never mind. Love it. Into the crit, into the crit, into the crit. Oh, what a stupid fucking bracket. Honestly, the only thing that last year's bracket is doing better than this one right now is that, and I forget exactly who this was, but somebody was trying to gentleman's like everyone to fucking Gen 1 Ranbats, And that shit was insanely funny. Watching Gen 1 Ranbats is like hell on earth, but it is hilarious. Skogriff gonna go ahead and throw in an Indeedee, which is, with Expanding Force, a pretty damaging Pokemon, usually a decent wall breaker in Ranbats. There is, unfortunately for it, a Grimmsnarl right behind it. Gen 1 Grands when I get there. Hey, if you can convince whoever your Grand's opponent to play Gen 1 Ranbats with you, then it is within the rules to gentlemen's do it. I'm not doing that. Respectable, respectable. My friends have said that whenever I start sending them Gen 1 replay links, they get concerned about my mental health. I'm not doing that shit again. I do not blame you. Gen 1 is hell. I respect people who play that metagame, and I'm sure that it's great and that they have a blast. It's hell. I can't do that shit. I know he's going through something when he sends me a 100 turn Gen 1 replay. That is true. So it's definitely a mental health check time. It's like, hey, are you okay? You know, everything going alright at home? Checking back into this game, both players have not made a ton of progress. This Granbull is still at, honestly, too much health. And Skogriff, I'm going to try to switch into Brahmasnow, perhaps to go for a kill here. Real hurt people type shit. That's true. When I'm hurt, I want to hurt people, so I definitely boot up Gen 1 and click Agility with Dragonite, and then click Wrap for 30 fucking turns. Clicking the Gen 1 Ranbat replay, telling my friend stop for me. Alright, Avamso not going to quite secure the kill with the Blizzard, and Granbull going to make even more progress this game, getting another Thunder Wave off. This fucking dog has done a lot, actually, all things considered. And Barry gonna go ahead and switch a Copperaja in, which is a pretty good elephant. Might be my, like, 4th favorite elephant in Pokemon, to be honest with you. And does quad resist, or sorry, does resist both of those stabs. Which makes it pretty useful. I think typically choice banded in Ranbats, so you'd rather just swing a heavy move. But into this team so far, there are 2 steel weaknesses and no steel resist with only 1 Pokemon unrevealed. Clicking Heavy Slam is like, ooh, okay, it's not Bandit. I think that typically means it is Life Orb. I'm gonna get Stealth Rocks up, which will add a little bit of chip, as usual. Gonna eat a Heat Wave from this Honchkrow and then click Iron Head. Not Life Orb. What the what? Oh no, it has Sheer Force, right, of course. Regirock is going to Terra Fighting and Body Press it, though. If you were faster, I'm actually not sure you needed the Terra Fighting to kill, but you might want Regirock to be Terra Fighting. I don't know if you do, actually, because now it's worse against Grimmsnarl and Granbull. I wonder. Of course, there could be a plan in the back for both of those Pokemon. Or just going to play around them with Indeedee and Abomasnow. Morocco has just scored a goal against Brazil in the 20th minute. Leading 1-0, by the way. This is good news for me. I am rooting against Brazil. Yes, I do have that up on my phone while I'm streaming a tournament for PRIDEfgc. I will not stop. It's a pretty beautiful goal, too, actually. Ooh. a really great sequences of long passes. Gliding with a really just beautiful touch into the net. Over the goalie. Tuning back into this, Regirock crit the Grimmsnarl and then body press it again to kill it. Is sitting at 14% HP, but did do a decent amount of damage, and sometimes that's all you need just to break through one Pokemon. A Kalos Pikachu wearing a fucking hat pulls up. The Matcherino link is unfortunately not a command. I will pull it up for you if I can. Thank you, streamer. You are quite welcome. There we go. Alright, Pikachu's gonna Volt Switch into Chinchino. Aww, look at... I love this thing. It's so cute. Look at it. What a good chinchilla. I can't wait for it to click Tidy Up and then Tail Slap. Do you want to click Tidy Up? Because doesn't Tidy Up get rid of rocks on both sides? Am I wrong about that? I'm gonna eat an Expanding Force instead. And Tail Slap back, which does manage to kill. I believe these usually run loaded dice to get the guaranteed 4 on Tail Slap. That way they can run Technician instead of Skill Link, I think is the idea. And Barry in a pretty good position, actually. I don't think you can kill with Tail Slap here. No, even with 5, it's not quite enough. The Abomasnow lives and gets the Blizzard off. It is paralyzed, however, which means either Granbull or Pikachu can get a kill here. And then, one Pokemon left for Skogrev, keeping the winner's one alive. Granbull comes in. Makes sense to me. It's the lower health Pokemon. You probably don't want it as much anyways. Just gonna play rough, finish off Abomasnow, and what do you got left, Skogrev? It is a Noctowl, which is a decent Pokemon in Ranbats, but unfortunately will have to contend with an Alolan Pikachu, or a Kalos Pikachu, sitting in the back. Unless it just dies to the Granbull if it misses a Hurricane. It gets Thunder Waved, and this is looking dire for Skogrev. It is going to get Encored using Hurricane, which means Pikachu can switch in basically for free here and just hit Volt Tackle because Terra has been blown, and with that, Barry Andon is going to take game 2 or 3, I think. I think Barry Andon has won twice and is going to move on to winners finals. And is going to face Hazel in the winners finals, which is going to be best of 5. Then we're going to go back to best of 3 for losers final or loser semis, and then best of 5 again for losers finals and grand finals. Just gonna go and wait for them to report and get all checked in and set up. You're still in this room. That's why. Alright, just waiting on Barry and Hazel to get into the room, get their match set up. Losers bracket looks like it is progressing. Polar Wolf, if you haven't noticed yet, you can check into your match and try to place Gogrev. And here we are, Barry Andon and Hazel FGC. Hazel's PFP has changed from the Rosa Pokemon Trainer to this one. I don't know what it's called. Not gonna lie, I forgot to check if I would outspeed or not when I Terra'd. That's fair enough. I understand. It happens to the best of us. Mysterious Pokemon Trainer. Mysterious Pokemon Trainer indeed. Well, let's go grab you. You have your chance in loser side. It looks like Polar Wolf was also checked in, so you guys should be good to play that out. Alright, Metacham is going to trick a Choice Band onto a Dodrio, which is often not ideal, because Dodrio is kind of fast, and with a Choice Band, hits kind of hard. Is going to do the switcher from Rhydon, which would not have won, but it's sometimes useful to just have in anyways because it's bulky. Barry is going to use this to their advantage and switch in an Ice Cube into the knockoff. And then proceed to Ice Spinner instead of going for a Belly Drum, interestingly. Could still potentially go for a Belly Drum if they so desire. They are quite quick, and Swaddle doesn't do the most damage. Instead, gonna read the potential Encore attempt and go for a Zen Headbutt. Hazel going for the big swings here. I respect it. And Ice Cube is also on screen, so I get to be quite happy about that because I love this stupid little penguin, and he's adorable, and also is very funny, and I kind of wish that he was better. But he is adorable. Alright, Barry gonna go ahead and switch the Ice Cube out now and go into Tornadus, while Hazel switches into the choiced Dodrio. Perhaps reading the switch out there, or maybe just wanting to get something out. Dodrio has lost its Choice Band and knocks off Tornadus' Assault Vest. I think without an item, Dodrio could still get a kill here with a high roll, but Tornadus does not have to stay in on this. It is a regenerated Pokemon, and can simply switch out if it so desires and just kind of U-turn pivot out into whatever the fuck and keep health, and you know, the thing some people despise about Pokemon is going to do exactly that. And Hazel stays in. What will the switch be from Barry? Gonna throw in a Tinglu, who has not been animated yet but is still quite cute. And is pretty bulky. I actually don't think that even at +2, this bird can kill it. I am not confident in the killing power of this bird. Gonna go for the knockoff instead. Makes a decent amount of sense. I'm gonna get Whirlwinded out into Rhydon. Does get rid of the boost. Unfortunately, does not gain any more information, which is, you know, usually the preferred outcome of clicking a Whirlwind in a random battle. So I'm going to eat a Megahorn for 51. And Rhydon is now threatening a kill with that Megahorn. And I think Earthquake is actually pretty close to killing it here, too. On a high roll, I think it would. I would drink. I would also drink from the Tinglu Bowl. It is broken. The bowl is broken, so it's not very good at holding liquid. But I would still drink from it. Just like I will now drink a water. And remind everybody else to take a hydration break. And drink some water to keep yourself healthy. Everybody who's on the stream. Fuck you. Drink some fucking water. Alright, gonna go ahead and tear a Rhydon to presumably live a close combat, but instead gets sorry, that turn flashbanged me. An unfortunate play from Barry. Tries to trick maybe something coming in, and gives heavy duty boots to Rhydon while gaining an Eviolite. I guess maybe it's valuable just to remove the Eviolite from Rhydon. Maybe I'm not seeing the vision. Maybe I should put more trust into the players. After all, I'm merely a commentator. Maybe what do I know? Perhaps removing the Eviolite from Rhydon was a valuable enough thing to just take it. It's kind of like a shitty knockoff. I guess you could, like, if you live that, you could trick the Eviolite into you and then trick it onto something else later. And that's kind of like two shitty knockoffs when you think about it. Tornadus is going to go ahead and come in here. Is it going to take some rock damage from losing its boots earlier? This is still a little bit scary, actually, because this will go down to a Stone Edge from Rhydon. Now, Bleak Wind will do damage if it fucking hits. Unfortunately, it won't, and crit Stone Edge is definitely going to kill. Not even close. Not even close. That crit there is doing like 200%. Bruxish is going to come in. Unfortunately, this is no longer weak to water, and is going to go down to a Mega Horn. Hazel actually in a pretty commanding spot. Still 6 Pokemon. Not too much health lost on them, to be honest with you. And Barry is down to 3 with all of their Pokemon revealed. Gonna throw in the Enamorus here. Is not heavy-duty boots because it took damage from the rocks. Glancing at this, it looks like it could have... I don't think leftovers procs in this situation, so it could have leftovers. And is going to Terra Ground Substitute to eat the Stone Edge. Fortunately, the Substitute does not do enough, and it will go down and then gain some health back from leftovers. You could try to gamble going for it again. Instead, just going to go for the kill with Moonblast. Get some more health back. There he does have a long ways to go to make this run back up. Eating a knockoff to get rid of the leftover is not a bad idea. Going to go for the kill against Dodrio. Komala is going to come in. Going to eat another Moonblast and Rapid Spin away the rocks. Notably, after the Rapid Spin, it is potentially faster than... No, it is not faster than Ice Cube after Rapid Spin. I don't think Ice Cube can one-shot. No, it can't. It eats a knockoff. It is now too low health, I think, to Belly Drum. An Ice Spinner again and take Komala out. Is still a pretty threatening Pokemon in its own right. Unfortunately, there is a Typhlosion that it has to contend with. I do not know if Tinglu has the health to deal with this Typhlosion. Gonna go for the Liquidation, but it just does not do enough damage. The Typhlosion is gonna kill it. I would love to believe whole team weak to Rhydon is not ideal or anything considered. That is true. Your whole team kind of falling apart to Rhydon is very unfortunate. Such is random battles. Sometimes you do just get fucked. But Exeggutor is going to come in and finish it off with Woodhammer, and we are going to give Game 1 to Hazel and head towards a Game 2 here. Here we are, Game 2. That was quick. Nice and quick. Looks like the players are starting off with a Toxapex for Barry and a Serperior for Hazel. This is best of 3 or best of 5. Best of 5. Because you are in winners finals. Checking on the losers bracket, Char Real Smooth has been eliminated by Base Lord Doll. Thank you, Char Real Smooth, for showing up and playing. Appreciate you being here. Also, congratulations on getting the full odd shiny. Skogrev and Polar Wolf are still playing. Checking back into this, Superior has done Glare onto a Chansey, which is then Thunder Wave right back into the incoming Fortress. Fortunately, Chansey has Natural Cure, so it doesn't fucking matter. Marianne has Toxapex and Chansey. I don't know what decided to give you a random bat stall team, but here we are. Also, if anybody's curious, Brazil has tied up the game with the goal around 34 minutes in. to make it 1-1. Bulk City, bro. This is going to be a long one. We are in for the long haul, for sure, for sure, for sure. I love the Brazil updates. I'm glad that you're having fun. The World Cup is happening, and there's a lot happening right now. There's the NBA, there's the Stanley Cup, there's the World Cup, and I mean, really, what is gayer than sports? Truly. So, I guess I'm glad that it's all happening during Pride Month. Meanwhile, I watched Heated. Yeah, I also watch Heated Rivalry. What could possibly be more gay than sports? Okay, there's also Miss Jeebus, who, with a Violite and in Ranbats, is pretty fucking bulky. He might be in this for the long run. Hey, looking to throw in a Grafii. There we go. Grafii. There's not a second F in it. Which is a cute little monkey, and with Prankster can do some silly little bullshit. Fortunately, I don't know how much it's doing to the incoming packs here. It is going to Terra Dark knockoff. 43. Not bad, not bad. Heated Rivalry GGST poster. Okay, if you're going to post this, please also post it somewhere I can see, and then I can check if I'm allowed to show this on stream, because that sounds amazing. Alright, Grafia is going to Swords Dance, and Pex is just going to... Hazel says, I hate it here. Yep, we are settling in for this one. Superior comes in. Gonna go for the least red miss! Oh no! Oh no. A tragic miss. Gonna go back into the Grafii, who now gets poisoned. Doesn't get Thunderwaved. Gonna Swords Dance again. This knockoff is unfortunately not gonna kill without a crit. Can it even kill with a crit? I don't know. It's gonna go for a low kick. I guess reading a switch back into Chansey. And Pex is just gonna recover here. And thank you, Tibbers, for giving me this Heated Rivalry Space GGST poster, which I will now pull up and show on stream very briefly. Here, let's just, oops. Whoops, hello? There you guys go. It's a little cut off, unfortunately, but thank you very much, Texas Timbers, for that. That was wonderful. Training partners, indeed. They are definitely training partners. Okay, tuning back in, there is a Lucario on screen, and I guess Inteleon and Hazel is down 2 Pokemon, and Barry looks to be in a pretty commanding spot. Doesn't have 2 layers of spikes in the butt to lose Lucario, but still has 3 pretty healthy stall Pokemon. We know she couldn't help herself. That's valid. You know, I respect it. I respect it. Go for the extreme speed chip. Get U-turn. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Also, the message from earlier from Cotter. Grafii is basically II, which is a lemur that people think is cursed because it is so ugly. I think it is cute, though. That is amazing lore. And that thing is definitely cursed. But I do think it's cute. He's going to go ahead and pivot into the Lapras. Barry going to send in Miss Drevis in response. Lapras could be a setup. There are, like, physical, like, Dragon Dance Lapras sets, which would suck if it is, because then it got burned by Miss Drevis. And is still Dragon Dancing, but has to get through so many more Dragon Dances now to be particularly threatening. Gonna go and throw some Icicle Spears. Even with the double crit on the 5 roll, is gonna do maybe not quite enough damage to this Mischievous. Especially if there is a Toxapex in the back that could potentially... Yep, here's the Pex. Just gonna eat. Really just not enough damage from that. Now, Earthquake is still scary, and Barry might want to consider playing around that. Pex. This is definitely the Pex. Now, the issue is that you have to Earthquake into either Mischievous or a Rotom, who has Levitate and Flying type. Which means going for moves here. Ooh, does not risk the switch again. Does not want to try to play that game. Is instead going to let the Rotom... It lived! It lived and got the kill with Thunderbolt. Will die to the Intelligent here, but Rotom is, I think, already done enough, to be honest with you. Living that Icicle Spear and getting the Thunderbolt off is probably going to be good enough. Inteleon, usually choice. He's hitting Ice Beam. I don't think Chansey is afraid of this Ice Beam very much. I think it's probably just going to soft boil it up. Gonna go for the Thunder Wave instead. Just balling out a little bit. Our Chaladon comes in. Now goes for the soft. Unfortunately, gets the Stealth Rocks up, and that is a lot of hazard chip for Hazel. If they can get a couple of boosts on Superior safely, this might still be doable. Superior can win games if it hits enough Leaf Storms. Unfortunately, they do need to get Superior into that situation safely, and ideally get at least 1 or 2 boosts off on a chipped Chansey. However, it might not need to worry about the Chansey if Barry decides to Seismic Toss in our Chaladon. Gonna go ahead and Terra Fairy here, which is usually pretty alright. I don't know if our Chaladon Flash Cannon is gonna do quite enough damage to punish this Terra. And Body Press is unfortunately not doing enough. I think Body Press is still doing more after the defense boosts and Chansey's special defense, but even at 34, I just don't think it's enough. Gonna go ahead and Seismic Toss. Lives that. This does leave Chansey. Oh, never mind the fucking Terra. Oh, Hazel is not having a good day. Seismic Toss is going to take down our Chaladon, and now all of a sudden we are once again in a pretty difficult situation. Superior comes in and is going to need to do pretty damn well against this Chansey, who is going to eat a Leaf Storm and Thunder Wave it. This is not looking good. It's soft boiled up. Eat another Leaf Storm. Now at +4, it is doing something. It is definitely doing big chunks to this Chansey. However, I just don't think it's doing enough. Especially with the chance of para and the chance of low rolls. It is probably not going to end up winning this in the long run. Now, a crit would do wonders here. But Synthesis does not have enough PP to stall Seismic Toss, especially with paras. And with that, Hazel is down to one simple Inteleon who is going to have to click the Hydro Pumps of its life, I think. Gonna opt for Ice Beam and gets the Freeze and the Insta-Thaw! That was a very quick roller coaster of a turn. And unfortunately, it results in the exact same thing happening that we thought was going to happen. And Barry Andon evens up the set, going 1-1. My luck, bro, absolutely. Radbats suck. This game is hell. This game is hell. All right, let's see what these two can give us for Game 3 here. All right, Game 3 we're in. We've got a Como-O and a Staraptor. Staraptor probably kill Como-O, so you probably don't want to leave it in. Nope. Alright, we're staying in, and we are dying. Perhaps, unlike last game, wanting to maybe make some more progress a little sooner. Luminion switches in here, which can kill with a high roll on Ice Beam, I think. There needs to be like a max roll, I think. Forge said Register's going to switch in. Luminion is actually pretty relevant in Randbats. It is fast as fuck for the format, sitting at what, 200? 222. Salazzle gets paralyzed. You never want to see that. That is pretty unfortunate. One on 1v1 random bats. You know, I wouldn't mind it. Unfortunately, I am currently commentating a tournament for PRIDEfgc, in which other people are 1v1ing random bats, as you can see on stream right now. And there is a Rampardos staring down a +2 Salazzle that is paralyzed. It is unfortunately faster, but the Terra Grass to resist is stuffed by the Paralyze, unfortunately. But perhaps after I could run a few Randbats. Perhaps. I'm gonna cry. You know what, Hazel, I don't blame you. I'm also ready to cry. Barry, however, is probably feeling pretty good about this little T-Rex thing. It's not a T-Rex, it's a different dinosaur. Does anybody know what kind of dinosaur this is? Like a Pachycephalosaurus or something like that? I don't remember. Gonna go ahead and get the kill on Cabaraja. Luminion switches in and clicks Hydro Pump again, doing decent damage to this Registeel, but probably not enough. Stupid dinosaur. Gonna click Encore on a Pokemon that just switched in, which unfortunately is not the most useful thing to do. Now gonna Encore it into clicking Body Press. Just the dinosaur with the big dome head. Hold on, researching. Thank you. Alright. After the Paralyze and the Encore, I think this is going to be the end of Luminion, and Barry is in a pretty commanding lead with 4 Pokemon and 2 and decent health left. Necrozma is going to come in and start boosting. Can eat a Body Press because of the Encore. However, Encore is now over, and Necrozma might have to deal with this. Does with an Earthquake. Now, Necrozma is a setup sweeper, and as we know, setup sweepers can always take games back if you get enough stat boosts. Pachycephalosaurus. You know your dinosaurs. I don't know that I know my dinosaurs, but I think I did know that one. I feel like I learned a lot of these from a book series called Astrosaurs when I was a kid. Shout out to Astrosaurs. There's a bunch of dinosaurs in space for some reason. However, looking at this, Necrozma has got its weakness policy procced and then died to a Gothitelle who is no longer scarfed. And Mabistiff is the last hope for Hazel. You know, a choice scarf from Mabistiff with some crits could maybe take the rest of this game, depending on what is in the back for Barry. This Palmon might just die to a choice hit. It is not scarfed, it is in fact banded. And Palmon will kill, giving Barry game 3 and putting Barry up 2-1 on set point. And here we are now in game 4, and there was another dinosaur screen switching into a Dragapult to be immune to the fake out. You love to see it. I fucking love Dragapult. Hariyama has been burned by Flame Orb, and Dragapult is going to Dragon Dance in front of a Hariyama with Flame Orb. Not sure about that one. Hariyama did click knockoff and delete it. I really don't. You know, it's okay, Hazel. It happens to the best of us. Is unfortunate, though, because the rest of the battle now is a little bit harder as Barry gets first blood and you lose a big power piece. Does Psychic the shit out of this Trevenant? That's a lot. Is that Specs damage? Switches Fortress into the Toxic. I don't know how scared Fortress is of Poltergeist against this thing, to be honest with you. Especially because, like, it's pretty bulky and you could just start setting up hazards if you wanted. So they're going to still the Poltergeist, which does get Thunderwaved. which is also not great, all things considered. Still gonna Shell Smash, while Fortress proceeds to set up Smikes. Now, this thing is normal speed after the 2+2 from speed boost -2 from Para. Does get paralyzed, which sucks. And Fortress lives the Shadow Ball from the Sturdy and goes for the Iron Head. The crit! Potentially a big crit, keeping Fortress alive and giving Hazel a little bit more tempo to work with. This has also been an exciting set so far. And Barry is going to go ahead and send the Trevenant back in, which at this point could just click Drain Punch and kill, or Poltergeist. That works too. And in the response is going to be throwing in a Hisuian Typhlosion, who does outspeed and kill, but will kill with Eruption through the Terra Dark from Barry. This thing is a, frankly, pretty scary sweeper in Ranmats. Does quite a bit of damage, especially with that Eruption. Barry throws a Mandibuzz back in, but there's not even necessarily a reason to keep it out. Do it. Hazel stays in anyways, and just clicks Eruption again. Gonna go ahead and eat a Foul Play, which does lower the damage of Eruption. I think it'll still probably kill the Mandibuzz, but it's a lot left ending for whatever comes in behind it. Yep, just gonna finish it off, and then what will be Baryanda's response? Hariyama is probably relatively unafraid of the Eruption at this point, and it is guaranteed to be choiced, so can't really do that much damage to it. And a knockoff would just kill it. Instead, gonna throw in Donphan, who is my third favorite elephant in Pokemon. Skograve in chat, holy shit, I just won with Recover Stalling, even though I got paralyzed when I tried to attack 3 times in a row. That sounds like a very exciting series of battles that you had. Here, Donphan is clicking Knockoff into a Hoopa Unbound, switching in, lose the Assault Vest. I'm just going to go ahead and click Hyperspace Fury, and thanks to Magician, steal the Donphan's leftovers. Will still die due to the defense drop and low defense, but you do love to see the most fuck-ass knockoff, which is Hyperspace Fury Magician knockoff. Typhlosion comes back in, probably going to pivot to either Shadow Ball or Fire Blast here. Going to go for Shadow Ball, it's more consistent. Eliminate that elephant. And Barry ended with 2 Pokemon left. However, one of them is a Qianbao. Does not have a model yet, but is still fucking adorable and incredibly lethal in random battles. Keeping a Qianbao in the back is always a useful strat. Hazel has recognized the direness of the situation. Pocket Death Weasel. Pocket Death Weasel indeed. You know, I too should start carrying a Weasel around in my pocket that can kill people, just in case. Just in case. Gonna go ahead and switch Dialga in, which is the decent switch into it. However, Barry Endon does have the Hariyama to just switch back and then eat a Heavy Slam, which, even after the Terra, did not do enough to Hariyama. Draco will do decent damage and has a chance to kill, I think, on a high roll. But close combat is almost guaranteed, and the Draco doesn't do it. Variant clicks knockoff instead of close combat. Oh, this is a little bit concerning. I don't know if Qianbao has the damage to kill both of them with... I don't think it does. Oh, I think this might be a flub, and it is. Going for the hedge, perhaps, instead gives Hazel game 4, and we are going to a game 5. A long, drawn-out set we have here. And, here we are at the end with fucking Masquerade and Dunsparce. Going from ending last game with Dialga Qianbao to Masquerade Dunsparce is Truly the most random battle thing that could have happened with us. Masquerain is going to go ahead and set up Sticky Webs while Tentacle switches in. Tentacle is Pokemon with a Rapid Spin, so this might amount to very little. It is going to Rapid Spin, and that will give Zekrom an entry point. And Zekrom can either threaten for the kill or just force Tentacle out here. Gonna get Toxic actually while reading that. Perhaps that Hazel was not gonna go for the kill right away, or maybe just willing to sacrifice Tentacruel. Which does put Zekrom on a timer. However, it is still a decently threatening sweeper and can definitely make some progress in the meantime. Get a Dragon Dance while Bariana switches into Illumise, though. And that was a good switch, because now you can Prankster Encore and it is stuck doing Dragon Dance while the Toxic chips away at it. Here, you can also just click U-turn on Illumise and kind of see what happens, or Thunder Wave. Does Illumise have U-turn? I don't think it does, actually, not on the set. Is just going to die a couple times to... Or die after Dragon Dance a couple times to Toxic Chip. Still alive, technically, but Illumise could just Encore it again, and then, yep, we'll take no damage from this. And with that, Barry has secured the first kill of Game 5, getting rid of a pretty decent piece. Hazel wastes no time throwing in a Glastrier, which will dodge the Thunder Wave and click Icicle Crash for a good 55. Glastrier is pretty slow. It doesn't terribly mind being paralyzed, but instead Barry is going to switch out and try to keep Illumise alive for later. Eating an Ice Crash on Tentacruel, who is not too worried about it. Goes for the Toxic, however. High Horsepower will absolutely kill that Tentacruel. Hazel was struck back, did have to blow Terra for it, but has a still pretty threatening Glastrier in here. Gonna choose to keep it alive and switch into Masquerain to get the Encore to blank and do nothing. Masquerain could threaten a kill here instead of needing to Sticky Web. I think even... but the Roost... I don't know if Roost will give it enough health to live. I think Roost might turn it into a damage roll. Instead, gonna go for the Sticky Webs anyways, while Barry switches into Oricorio. Gonna Hydro Pump the Fire-type Oricorio for decent damage. Hydro Pump probably won't kill, and it misses! Oh, the unfortunate miss. Letting Oricorio continue to boost up, and another Hydro Pump miss. This is really not Hazel's day. Hydro Pump's still going to do around 32, but you are giving Oricorio a lot of boosts here. And Revelation Dance is going to start killing. Now the question is, does Hazel have an answer to this? There is a Basculin. Now, a Basculin Aqua Jet might kill, but doesn't go for it! Instead eats the Hurricane and dies. Sableye comes in, and Hazel has to do something about this. Terra grounds to avoid the Thunder Wave and gets another kill with Revelation. And to be honest with you, that might just be the game. GG, I lost. Yep, that is probably going to be GG's. Notably, has to go for Hurricanes here, but it does connect, and I think that is going to be it. Respect to Hazel for playing it out in the correct sequence of play. There was always a chance. I don't think this is going to work out, unfortunately. I don't think Glastrier has the health to get through 4 Pokemon with the Toxic on it. I'm just not confident this is going to work. You can probably Roost here to live enough Icicle Crashes to just stay alive. And looks like Barry is going to do exactly that. And with that, winners finals comes to an end, giving Barry the win 3-2 at the end of it all. All right, we're going to go ahead and check in on the loser's side, because I think our losers semis match might be ready to go. All right, and here we are into, I think, game one of loser semis. I couldn't really touch Oricorio. I should have calced Aquajet. Well, I'm sure he would have really could. Yeah, I think with if it was banded, I think Aquajet might have just killed in that situation. I think the Aquajet calc probably would have killed. I think it was worth going for, but I respect the decision to just try to definitely banded kills for sure. Yeah, that's what I thought. Meanwhile, there is a Slitherwing on screen right now, and I always forget how cute Slitherwing is until I see it. To be honest, it's also big. Having said that, Fish with Launch here has gone the first kill and set up a sticky web, which is exactly what you want Ribombee to do. To be honest, then gonna go ahead and die without losing too much momentum. Alright, Sucker Punch is going to go and do with the Ribombee. Samurott is going to come in. Now you could fish for kills, but I think Game 5 I was like, I need to win so bad I'm taking anything I can get at +3. That's fair. That is a understandable decision. I'm telling poorly, I'll come back and grant. That's confidence. Alright. H-Rod does in fact start going for Cease's edges. There's Launch getting some scary hazards set up. Sticky Web always can affect the matchup pretty harshly, depending on whether or not you have boots or something that relies on being faster. And Ceaseless Edge is a good fucking button. If it was on anything other than H-Rod, it would be one of the best buttons in the goddamn game. For now, though, it appears that it is stuck on H-Rod, and H-Rod is staring down a Dipplin, which Fish probably doesn't want to sack H-Rod to quite yet. Imagine you want to hold on to that at least a little longer. And I'm correct. Gonna go ahead and switch out into Skeledirge here, which is a good Crocodile, and I think this is a hilarious Pokemon. Usually runs some sort of Flame Charge, Torch Song set. Typically the Shadow Ball Slack Off, I think, comes with it. And Randvats is generally the idea. Yep, that is one of its sets. The other one is just Hex Will-O-Wisp. So, pretty decent Pokemon. Can actually be pretty scary because you can't match its boosts because it has Unaware. And it is pretty bulky, so after you get set up with it, it can kind of steamroll games. Perhaps Skogrev look into figuring out how to not let it do that, because letting it do that is very bad. Gonna go ahead and throw back in the Sudowoodo. I think that makes sense. You're gonna have to try to eat a Shadow Ball at +1, which you can probably do in Randbats. I don't think a Shadow Ball will kill here. And then you just have to gamble on the 80% fucking head smash. Gets Wisped, which means this is actually not Flame Charge, it is the Hex set. And Hex might kill. I think it's a roll. But even so, I think you've done most of your job by getting Skeledirge pretty low. And if it doesn't respond to anything fast, then it can... Oh no. Went for the greed with Sucker Punch, and Skeledirge has Terra'd into a arguably better type, and is now nice and healthy again, thanks to Slack Off. Hex is still threatening a KO. On a roll, obviously. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if Sudowoodo has the damage anymore. Gonna swing with the Woodhammer anyways, lives the Hex just barely, and the Woodhammer doesn't do recoil because of Rockhead. Is going to continue to swing with it though to try to get rid of slack-offs or make some progress. A crit, again, would absolutely delete the Skeledirge. May want to consider just getting to high enough health. That is probably the highest health they're going to get. Yep, and then Torch Song out. Skogrev is going to respond by throwing in a Roaring fucking Moon. It is an interesting switch because we know that this is a Wisp Hex set, and I'm not confident that Moon can kill with one hit. It is not Booster Energy. It might be Lumberry. It is Lumberry, which means it can actually dodge the first Wisp, and unfortunately Outrage is not doing enough to threaten properly, which will leave it confused. This is an awkward situation for Skogrev for sure. This fucking Crocodile is causing problems, to say the least. Gonna get burned again, and Outrage is just not doing enough anymore. Only hitting for 20%, and leaving you confused afterwards. This Skeletor just very unconcerned about the situation. Now it is notable that now that it is water type, Diplin could potentially do something to it. Potentially. It's hitting it for around 60% with a Giga Drain, and Skeletor does not have any ways to boost its special defense, so Skogrev may want to consider at some point switching in a Diplin, since the Terra has been blown. And Diplin does well against both the Pokemon that Fish Launch has so far revealed. Gonna switch out into Atrot, I guess on the read that Diplin was gonna switch in. Perhaps. Maybe the players are listening to my stream and making decisions based on what I say. Such is the life of a Pokemon tournament streamer. A bear. There is a bear on stream. This is not my favorite bear in Pokemon, but I don't mind it. It's a good bear. I think I prefer both Ursaluna forms and Beartic and Kubfu. It is a decent bear. It is a respectable bear. Diplin gonna go ahead and Giga Drain here and eat Body Slams. Skogrev not too interested in trying to preserve that for the two water types. Might just be willing to let Diplin go down, but it is doing decently well. Unfortunately, it is going to get paralyzed, which does hurt its chances. Now, notably, this Ursaring does not look like it's quite set up, or a set up bear, and that means that it might be a Rest Talk bear. The Rest Talk set on this is particularly scary because Guts, which boosts your attack when you are status, procs while you are asleep, and so if Sleep Talk gives you Body Slam or Earthquake, they get boosted damage. Gonna go ahead and switch anyways into Masquerain, and Fish is going to go for the rest here. which means a body slam. Now this is immune to earthquake, so this is kind of RNG hell, but fish not even going to risk it, instead going to switch into Iron Thorns. Master Queen does go for the Quiver Dance. I think a Hydro Pump still doesn't kill here. Depending on what set the Iron Thorns is, it could kill, but this thing has, like, fucking a million moves in Ranbats, so I really don't know exactly which one is going to be and what the odds of killing are, or what the calc should be. Going to Terra Water anyways and go for the kill with Hydro Pump. Doesn't quite get it, and Wild Charge comes out and will absolutely delete it, but it is going to be a trade. Probably still a trade in Fish's favor. Both players have now blown their Terra into water types, amusingly enough. This is the second tournament stream match that we've had that both players have the same Terra type in the game. Earthstring is going to come in against Moon. I am not confident that Moon is going to do too much here. Fortunately, it is a little bit of dead weight now. Earthstring will probably just rest talk until he gets a kill. Gonna go ahead and knock off the Eviolite, which is at least going to let you do more damage to the thing. Sleep Talk gives rest. Alright, Skograve went for a Dragon Dance, trying to see if they could get Moon to be useful again. Unfortunately, Rest Hog this time rolled the Earthquake, and with the Sleep from Guts, that is enough to get the kill. Skograve is down to 2 Pokemon, while Fish Launch is sitting relatively comfortable at 4. Notably, 2 of them are going to struggle against the Diplin. However, Diplin is still at 55%, which is not great. Stonejourner is going to come in. Stonejourner, which is, frankly, not that good of a Pokemon even in Ranbats. And unfortunately, the situation does not look amazing for Skograve. They're going to get a Rock Polish off, which boosts their speed. I don't know if that actually makes them faster than... It does. It does actually make them faster than Samurott. Who's just going to hit the Razor Shell here, and then probably go for Cecil Edge to get a little extra chip. Stone Edge does do a decent amount of damage. Going for Razor Shell again. Maybe it's choiced. Maybe didn't want to risk the miss. Diplin is in, takes a little bit from Spikes. Is notably not going to heal very much from the Giga Drain, and probably will not live the incoming bear. Ursaring comes in, switches into the Giga Drain instead of letting this H-Rod die. Interesting. Does give Diplin a little bit more health back. Diplin is incredibly slow after all of this. Is going to eat a Body Slam. Giga Drains most of it back up. The bear is not currently asleep, but it can be asleep in just a moment, which will actually boost its damage. It's going to do just that. And Diplin still hanging on, still just Giga Draining its way through. Bear might go down here. Does go down to another Giga Drain, leaving Diplin at 70 HP, 70%. H-Rod, I don't know if it can kill off this. Unfortunately for Skograve, Diplin is not going to get too much healing off of it. Oh, the Sucker Punch almost killed! I see the vision. I understand what you were going for. I agree with that play. Going for the Sucker Punch to try to take as little damage as possible and have a higher health. I respect it. Depending on what Fisher Launch's last Pokemon is, maybe this is still doable. They've been pretty hesitant to send it in, it seems like, despite being, you know, ostensibly very close to winning. I wonder if maybe it's not something that does well against Diplin. Alright, Skeldurge comes back in. Sucker Punch fails. Gonna go ahead and start Torch Songing. Oh, the para! That is... It was bound to happen eventually. And game 1 will go to Fish for the launch. Alright, gonna go ahead and wait for them to start game 2 here. That's not the right one. Alright, here we are in game 2 with a Raging Bolt and a Cloyster. Cotter, if you are still here, there's a Raging Bolt on the screen. If you are still here, you will probably be very pleased about that. It is staring on a Cloyster, which I actually don't think it's that afraid of, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, you could just Volt Switch for 100% of its fucking health. Returning for Great Neck. There is a Great Neck here. It is about to be off-screen because it's Volt Switching out. But Volt Switching for a kill is, like, one of the things that you want it to be doing, so it is doing its job. Alright, Uxie is coming in. These Pokemon are switching here with no information. Often carry Stealth Rocks, so you might be willing to throw some of those out. Perhaps it's a decent utility Pokemon, so it really is pretty safe option to throw in blind here. Skograve trying to decide what they want to do with this switch in. What answer do they have for Uxie, or, you know, what do they want to set up here? Gonna throw in Ogerpon. Base form Ogerpon is still a scary Pokemon. Gonna go for the Swords Dance. What is Uxie gonna do here? Get a U-turn out for decent damage into Vespiquen, who may live because I'm not confident that Ogerpon has a coverage move for it. In fact, it does not look like it does. Gonna go for the knockoff anyways, just to get some progress, and we'll go down to Vespiquen. Leaving Coach for the launch up 2 so far, and Skograve down 1, Ogerpon unfortunately, because Ogerpon is a pretty decent Pokemon sadly, but there's a fucking Reshiram, which in this meta is still quite relevant. Definitely a relevant Pokemon, definitely not something that you're super excited to see. It's just going to go for the Blue Flare, which is doing 50 to Uxie even. And with a burn, I mean, you are, again, fishing for a kill here. It is a roll. There's a chance that this Uxie lives. We'll go for the knockoff and get rid of the heavy-duty boots. Blue Flare goes off, and Uxie does live. And unfortunately, because of the order of events, will survive one more turn. But this Reshiram is still a threat and is sitting pretty healthy so far. Reshiram kind of looks like a chicken. It does look very chicken-like, doesn't it? Going for the 100% accurate Earth Power on the Levitate Uxie, knowing that you have Turbo Blaze, is kind of a banger play, actually. I never would have clicked that shit. I never would have thought of it. Lucario comes in here, and depending on the set, could be threatening a kill. Does get it with a close combat. Not Life Orb, which means it is likely Choice Blanded. And will take out the Reshiram. Again, pushing Skograve a little bit further back into this game. Throws out a Pyroar, which is unfortunate, because that is also going to perish. Although, it does outspeed, I think. So maybe the plan is simply to outspeed and go for the kill here. It does go for the Fire Blast, which misses on the Raging Bolt. Wouldn't have done that much anyways. I mean, maybe a burn, but to be honest with you, it's really not that relevant. Great Neck would have eaten that shit. Would have absolutely eaten that shit. Gonna go ahead and switch into Sand Slash to try to avoid the electric type move. We'll eat a Draco Meteor for 70% and not. It's a little bit awkward. You really don't want to leave Raging Bolt in case Draco misses or doesn't kill. Like Sand Slash is just an uncomfortable amount of HP where it like might live. But you could also just switch into Oricorio, for example. There's also a Vespiquen in the back, which can deal with Sand Slash decently well. Oricorio does need to rely on Hurricane for this to kill, I think. It is going to go for that, and Skogrev makes a good switch into Sudowoodo, which is much more threatening here. Honestly, Sudowoodo's a little scary for this team. It can kind of just hit a lot of the team for decent damage. Gonna go ahead and head smash through the Terra Ground and deal a decent chunk of damage. However, I think because of Terra Ground changing Revelation Dance's type, it is now going to just kill the Sudowoodo and perhaps the rest of this team. Unless Sudowoodo Terra Grasses and goes for Woodhammer on the Roost. Which has given Skogrev an angle back into the game, as opposed to just losing, which we're very close to doing. Vespiquen is going to miss a Hurricane and fucking explode to a head smash, which is now evened up the Pokemon count. The Sudowoodo being Terra Grass actually does kind of help it in a couple of these matchups too, where it would really doesn't mind being in against Lucario, but it still might be worth it to throw the Sand Slash in anyways, just to try to keep Sudowoodo alive. But it really depends on what last Pokemon is. You probably still want to retain health on Sudowoodo, so it might be worth it just to get the Sand Slash in. But this battle is definitely still in anybody's hands. Went from an almost completely lost position back to actually pretty close with one good Terra and one unfortunate miss. Alright, Sand Slash is going to switch into the Lucario and is going to die to a close combat, which does suck, but does give you an entry point for Pyroar to come in and click a special attacking move. Likely going to go for Fire Blast to try to confirm the kill on Pyroar, but you may want to consider hedging to deal with the Great Neck sitting in the back. This is kind of a gamble here. He's going to go for Workup instead, like a fucking baller. Alright. Great Neck is still pretty bulky for how much damage it does, unfortunately, for Skogrev, but getting the 40% Hyper Voice here is not bad. Eating 60 from a Draco is also could be worse. Could even try to switch around here back into Sudowoodo if they wanted to try to play around the lowered special attack. Instead, going to eat the Thunderclap and go for another Hyper Voice. Eat another Thunderclap, unfortunately, and it looks like Sudowoodo is going to be coming in. Which one of these Pokemon is faster? Raging Bolt is faster. It's 162. You do have to play a little bit of Sucker Punch mind games here because Thunderclap will be... Oh, no, okay. Skogrev just goes for the Sucker Punch. Now, Lucario probably loses the 1v1 here. However, the question becomes, what does Swift Launch have in the back, and will Sudowoodo have enough health to deal with it? So if you eat this, quick, Woodhammer works. I think Earthquake would have done a little bit more damage in the situation. Has to eat a second close combat for their trouble. Gonna go for Woodhammer again. And it's Mouse Hold! That's hilarious, actually. Unfortunately, I think Mouse Hold is about to simply click Pop Bomb and delete you. Now, there is a chance. There's always a chance that Wide Lens Mouse Hold misses. unfortunately, it did not come true. And the adorable family of mice is going to seal the deal, giving Fish for the Launch the entry into Losers Finals, I believe, where we go back to best of 5. Thank you, Skoga, for entering, and we appreciate you showing up. I didn't have Earthquake. Ah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I was not looking at the full move sets. That is unfortunate. Such is the way the Ranbat cookie crumbles. I think now we're going to go ahead and have Fist for the Launch and Hazel FGC sitting in the Losers Finals here. No, I have low-key been sitting here for like 2.5 hours drinking water. So once we get into the game, I might take a quick little bathroom break. But I will at least wait until it's back on so that the viewers can continue to watch it and not have to stare at this screen with a shaman struggling in a tree. Looking very cute, but probably don't want to just stare at it for like 5 minutes. It is kind of adorable, though. Look at it. Hazel said, I took a fat nap, I can't lie. I respect that. And you know what? Sometimes in the middle of a bracket, that's what you need to just, like, mentally reset. You know, sometimes you're heated from a set, you just need to take a nap, you're back up, you're like, all right, I'm ready, I'm here, I'm focused, and we're going to lock in. Someone help that shaman. Someone does need to help that shaman. It is currently struggling to stay on that tree branch. I guess you could also look at the FNAF 2 footage at the top left, but you were not built for arboreal life. You know, that's not this because I feel like Shaman should have been, but I guess it is like a hedgehog, so maybe it wasn't built for arboreal life. I think my headcanon for this shot is that Shaman was in its like flying form and then was forced to detransform and then like got stuck in a tree because of it, and it's like I'm not supposed to be here like this. I can fly sometimes, but now I'm stuck in a fucking tree. I do think Shaman is fucking adorable, though. It's just grass on a hedgehog, and that's wonderful. It is also a Pokemon that pisses me off in Skyform, because then it just becomes another fucking Jirachi. But, you know, while it's a cute little hedgehog, I will take it. Oop, hello? Alright, currently waiting for Hazel and Fish to start their match, which they should be doing any moment now. I think both players have checked in. And here we are with a Kyurem White, which honestly also looks a little chicken-like. Like, just a little bit, you know? Alright, I'm back. It's half Rice Wings, half chicken too. Commentator Rodrigo, I told you I was going to go to the bathroom at the beginning of the set. I've been sitting here for like 2.5 hours drinking water. Alright. I'm back now, though. And, looks like Hazel is currently down in this set, which is, once again, best of 5. But there is a Dialga Origin, which is a decent Pokemon. There is a fucked up Dialga on screen. This is Dialga Origin form. A little bit cursed, but still a decently relevant Pokemon. Honestly, it could be more fucked up. If you've ever seen Palkia Origin, I think Palkia Origin looks cursed. Loki have nothing for Sableye though. That's valid. Luckily for you, Draco did the job. Yeah, if you want to see like a truly horrifying Pokemon, Palkia Origin form is just ridiculous. Reshiram comes back in. Hazel is still behind on Pokemon, but Terrifier Fusion Flare does not do enough to this Greedent, who is back to full health after Citrus Berry and Cheek Pouch. Clefable comes in and eats an Earthquake. I don't know that Clefable really wins this. Greedent has a decent chunk of HP and Swords Dance. Don't know if this Clefable is unaware. The answer is that it might be. They made Palkia a horse. They did make Palkia a horse. And like a really weird horse with like an upper body that seems like it should have arms but like doesn't. That looks like an unaware Clefable to me. Which means probably want to be hitting Body Slams instead of Earthquakes. Does do more damage. Moonblast. Going for Earthquake again. Unfortunately, I think that's not going to be enough, and Clefable is probably going to take this here. Does not do much against the 2 Steel types left for Hazel. Doesn't have it, only have his Double Edge. Oh, that is unfortunate. Berserker's gonna come in. Oh, this thing got burned earlier? That is, not great. Gonna eat a Fire Blast. That is a big chunk, and Iron Head is gonna secure the kill, but Berserker is a breath away from dying. Oh, yep, I forgot about the burn. Alright. Unfortunately for Hazel, this game 1 looks pretty well secured for Fish for the Launch, which is not going to quite kill with Draco, but Dialga is burned at half special attack and at 14% HP. That is an Arceus Ice. Lamau. La fucking Mao. Alright, Fish for the Launch taking game 1 of Losers Finals. And we are right into game 2 with a Fluttermane staring down a Venusaur. Now, Fluttermane is a damn good Pokemon. Even at level 74, this thing is size-shocking and doing fucking 69 to Venusaur for no reason. Dude, this Pokemon is so silly. All they did was they took fucking Miss Dreamus and like turned it upside down. And then it just became the best Pokemon. Not the best Pokemon, but it became an incredibly potent Pokemon with a frankly ridiculous stat line. Gonna switch Sudowoodo in to eat the Psyshock. It doesn't take too much from it. Fluttermane is gonna go and switch out into Hazel's own Sudowoodo, which is always nice to see. You love some fake trees staring down each other. Both get rocks up. Went for the Head Smash. Hazel goes for the Earthquake. Fish Launch gets Woodhammer and gets First Blood in this game too here, which gives an entry point for Ludicolo to come in and potentially click some very scary buttons depending on what set it is. Could be a Rain Dance Sweeper, could be a choice set. Looks like it is a Rain Dance Sweeper, and Sucker Punch is not going to work as it sets of Rain Dances now very quick. Honestly, you might just need a Sucker Punch because Giga Drain will probably heal the damage anyways. Yep, that is exactly what happens. Almost all the damage is immediately healed up. There's a little bit of HP from Life Orb, but Ludicolo is out here dancing around. What an amazing animation, truly. And in comes Appleton. Now, Ludicolo often does have Ice Beam as well, which is not great for Appleton, who's going to miss a Dragon Tail. Not the 10% Dragon Tail miss. Only 2 more turns of Rain, as you know, because of the Life Orb and Rain Dance usage. But Appleton is probably dead without a Terra. Is going to force the Terra Steel here and recover back up. Which does leave it weak to a... Oh my god, not weak to, sorry. Susceptible to a Hydro Pump, which crits for big damage. Reverum comes in here, and this is a little bit awkward because you kind of don't want to give Reverum the space to set up if you can avoid it. Is going to go for the Shift Gear here, and Hazel is going to set up Rain Dance once again, which I think leaves them once again in the same situation. Reverum is faster, but at +1 now. Goes for the Gunk Shot, which does hit and will kill. And Reverum is pretty scary in this game. Cannot switch Mischievous into, or sorry, Fluttermane into that at all. But Iron Hands can do some work here. Will resist the Iron Head, which means you have to go for some of the scarier options. Does have high horsepower to do a decent chunk of damage. But the close combat afterwards will leave Reverum at low enough HP that its next attack will kill itself with Life Orb. Which is honestly pretty good, because stopping an effective sweeper like that by trading with it is a very reasonable trade to make. And Deoxys Defense comes in for first launch, while Hazel FGC sends in Terapagos. Terapagos is a cute turtle. I have no idea what this matchup is about to do, to be honest with you. It is going to Terra Stellar into this thing and proceed to start Calm Minding. Now, Deoxys Defense typically does have stored power, so this set is still pretty scary. And I think also has Nightshade. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I still don't actually know how Terapagos or Terra Stellar works. I have played a lot of Pokemon since this Pokemon was out. I think it very quickly got banned in OU, and I proceeded to stop thinking about it after that. So I do not remember how this situation works out, and I do not know what is going to happen. For now, both players are content to try to boost up, probably to +6/+6. Notably, Deoxys not getting special attack boost means that sword power is not as scary as it could be. And as you can see there, only doing 15%. Nightshade is immune because Terapagos is still normal type, I guess. I don't know how Stellar works. And yeah, sword power only doing 13 or so, whereas Terapagos is doing a little bit more, but Deoxys usually has a recovery move, which could pose a problem for this match. There it is, Recover. Which may mean that... Oh, but Terapagos has Rest. Okay, I think it is perhaps time to start counting PP. we may want to consider doing some PP counting. Because I don't really think either player super wants to switch out here. Oop, I believe here is the pause for counting the PP. Let's see what we got. So we know that Trapagos has Calm Mind, Starstorm, Earth Power, and Rest. Rest is at 7 out of 8. Earth Power is at 10 out of 16. They are out of Starstorms. They have used all of them at 0 out of 8 because of pressure. And 26 Calm Minds. Deoxys is at 26 Cosmic Powers, 11 Sword Powers, 23 Nightshades, and 6 Recovers. This does look better for the Deoxys. I'm going to keep it a buck. Which potentially means that we might end up having to fish for a crit here. Now, with only 5 Earth Powers left, fishing for a crit is a little bit scary to do. And notably, well, some of the numbers here do change because of Rest, but I think losing Starstorm early was pretty scary. However, Hazel looks content to just fire off Earth Powers and see what happens. Gonna go for another recover here. Fish is down to 5 recovers. And continue clicking Earth Powers. And Trapagos is going to click Rest. And here is the benefit of Rest in this situation, is that you have several turns where you don't have to spend any PP. Sleeping is awesome. You know, sometimes sleeping is very good. Have you ever played a Rand Bats with your life on the line? I think I have, and you know what? I think if I was like Rand Bats with my life on the line, I might have counted the PP sooner. I believe this Terapagos is out of attacking moves. I lost. Which means Terapagos is now functionally useless, and the best it can do is be switch fodder for fish for the launch. However, that does do one thing of importance. It does give Fluttermane an entry point into a no longer boosted Deoxys. However, Deoxys defense is going to come back in here. Volcania is going to switch back in. And Deoxys is going to recover. I do wonder if maybe it would be worth it to get Terapagos have back in to try to waste PP on Deoxys to try not to let it get set up. If you could get... If you could get a Calm Mind or two on Fluttermane... Terra has been blown. Fluttermane can't... Oh, it might be spec'd. It might still be able to do it if you can get the Deoxys in when it's not boosted. Or sorry, if Fluttermane can switch in when Deoxys is not boosted, it can go for the win here. Typhlosion is going to come in, and this does mean that Baryon can't spend too much PP. Because, or sorry, not very Fish for the launch can't spend too much PP because they can't, or has forced them to PP rather, because they're forced to. They can't switch around too much. Typhlosion will take rocks damage every time. It's just going for eruptions here, which I think they're gonna run out, and they are right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I guess it is certainly possible that... Alright, fair enough. Hazel takes... I think that was game 1? Was that just game 1? That was game 2? Oh, so is it 1-1 now? I think that's correct. I think it's 1-1. Which means I think we're in game 3, and official launch has started a Pelipper. Game 2, yeah, alright. Which is hitting Weather Ball onto a Switch and Swampert and doing more damage than is really quite comfortable. I am, for some reason, getting pinged for Grand Blue entrance, and I don't know why. That's alright. Didn't think Weather Ball would do... Weather Ball does a lot. It is a 100 base power, you know, stab move, so you're hitting like 200 base power at the end of all that. Fendivity is going to Terra Water and then Gunk Shot to really, really early Terra from Hazel. Perhaps indicating that there is not a good water resist on the rest of that team. Now, there are only, well, technically, if you figured out the set, you actually know how many turns of rain there are left. But, it is going to come down to the poison damage here, which I believe will kill the Pelipper. And evens out the Pokemon state. Terra and some health blown on Hazel, and a Veluza comes in on the rain. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Who gave Fish for launch a fucking UU team? What is this shit? Why do we have a UU rain team? What's going on? The rain does stop here, and Veluza is left in. I don't remember what set this thing could be, to be honest with you. It can do a couple different things. Meowscarada is going to switch in on the Psycho Cut, and hey, that's a good Pokemon. Wonder how Blunder feels about it. Gonna go ahead and just click the Protean knockoff to do 51 to Vileplume, because, you know, fuck your shit. And then just Triple Axle, which if all 3 hits, and they do, it will kill, which has now given Hazel the lead in this game. Regirock comes in, it eats a Flower Trick, which, because of the Protean switch Dark type, doesn't do quite as much damage as you'd really like it to do. Gonna go ahead and Stealth Rock set up, and the Para is pretty unfortunate for Hazel. And Body Press is going to delete that fucking cat. Landorus Incarnate is gonna come in, which I think is usually a special attacker in Ranbats, because its special attack is actually higher. I think. And will force the Regirock out, as understandable. Veluza comes in, and Veluza does outspeed... Well, it has Aqua Jet, but I think it does not outspeed normally. The second Aqua Jet will kill it here. Misclick. It is an unfortunate misclick. Definitely recoverable, though. Definitely recoverable. Might need to reconsider the lines of play here. Gonna let the Landorus die. After the misclick, maybe understandable. Braviary, or sorry, not Braviary, Talonflame is gonna come in. I think I called this thing a Braviary. I was talking to my friend the other day. And Brave Bird the Veluza. Regirock is going to switch in, which is a problem for Talonflame for sure, but going to go ahead and switch out into Pheasantipity, who will die to a Stone Edge. I don't think that could matter. I think it was going to kill either way. And Crab comes in. Not quite Dynenemy Crab. There are no Megas in Gen 9 Ranbass, unfortunately. But Crabominable is still quite scary. Just going to go ahead and hit Knockoff onto the Uxie, doing clean 82 and knocking off the leftovers. I don't even know if Uxie can kill in return. I'm going to go for the second noise, which does 50. May not be enough. Is Crabominable faster than Regirock? It is 129 to 1. It is not quite faster. And Body Press, I think, will kill... Ooh, the burn does change some things, though. This is not Lumberry. The rock is leftovers. It may have rest. Does it have rest? I don't remember. This might give Crabominable enough to survive, but after the rock chips, it's going to be pretty close. And it will not live the Body Press. And game 3 goes to Fish for the Launch, putting them on set point. And we are now into game 4. Potentially Hazel's last match of the tournament if they can't pull this out. Leading a Golurk into a Keldeo, a little bit of an awkward matchup. Gonna just take the easy switch into Chimecho, who is going to eat a Surf. Keldeo, not nearly as scary a Pokemon as it used to be, I think. Does still get Scald, but I don't remember how it does in Ranbats. And, alright, the King Gambit has entered the fucking screen. I love this Pokemon. It is always a banger, and it is always incredibly frustrating. But you kind of have to love it if you play Gen 9, because you see it every other fucking game. Gonna go ahead and Shed Tail out into Shaman Sky, which is very scary actually for first launch, because a substitute with Air Slash and Paralysis means that you kind of eat shit here a little bit. Actually, this is not a good situation for King Gambit, who normally doesn't care too much about being paralyzed and the chance of roll, but para-flinching with Serene Grace is pretty scary to be standing behind. Oh, you can Sucker Punch, though, to avoid one of those RNGs. And reads the substitute of the cow. Alright. Fish for the Launch is currently Blunder Gaming. This is real agency plays. Just playing the most fucked up. Alright, goes for the Kowtow again. What's it gonna be this time? The switch out into the Dene to eat the Air Slash was a genuinely hilarious set of plays. Hazel, however, is just going to switch back into the Golurk, who does not care about this rat whatsoever. Dedenne will switch out, letting Fish Launch pivot into something, but I don't really know what you want eating a Golurk Earthquake. Like, it is still a decently damaging attack. The answer, I guess, is to throw in a Ditto, who will eat 97 from it. Notably, no Life Orb recoil. And I'm going to go ahead and switch out into Chimecho, who eats a Dynamic Punch, which is a crazy play. Why did you click the what? What was the Dynamic Punch play? I'm confuzzled. Alright. Sorry, I kind of tuned out because I was just very confused by that sequence. Ditto's going to come back in and go down to an Earthquake again. And Keldeo comes in, which again is pretty scary. Hazel going to go and throw in Chimecho, which is useful as a sack because this thing kind of fucking sucks. That Dynamic Punch was actually Beast Mode. Was it a read on the idea that they were going to go for a Ghost move, so Hazel was going to switch into Cyclozar? Was it the plan? Oh, the Paralyze! I don't remember if this King Gambit has Iron Head, but unfortunately, Paralyze is going to stuff those plants quite quickly. Iron Thorns comes in and presents a little bit of a problem to Hazel, but can just eat the Wild Charge with Golurk. And I mean, again, at some point, I think, yep, there's going to be a Terra, because this Golurk has been causing so many problems just clicking Earthquake. Goes for the Poltergeist, and actually deals a decent chunk to the now Terra Water Iron Thorns. Gonna Terra Ghost to avoid the super effective Ice Punch and go for Poltergeist again. is a little bit low on health here, and Keldeo once again finds an entry point. Deciding to preserve the Golurk even longer, so in Clefable. I understand. Reading the switch in general, because Scarf Ditto prob kills with Poltergeist, and Free Confuse is epic. Yeah, I just think that if they do literally anything else, it doesn't work, so... which it didn't. Anyways, Hazel has a... I think rested back control of the match so far. Dedenne is not doing the most. Fable does have some boost here. There is a amazing fucking elephant on screen. Hey Cotter, there's a great Tusk on screen if you're not watching right now, who's going for Earthquakes. Unfortunately, the Paralyzed Musical Fable does not win this matchup. 3 in a row. That is pretty fucking tragic. Shaman Sky comes in. Can hit Seed Flare? Or goes for the substitute. Okay. It's a pretty awkward situation to deal with here, but you do need to get some damage off. Shaman Sky is pretty valuable. It might be that Hazel wants to preserve it. Gonna leave it in and gonna get paralyzed. Oh my god. That was one of the most Ranbats turns I've seen in a minute. This is why if you have a win condition, you save that shit. You keep it safe. Ambipom is going to come in, and the unfortunate thing about the situation is that Ambipom doesn't quite do enough to Great Tusk, because Great Tusk is way more physical defense. And close combat is just going to kill it. Alright, Golurk comes in. This is a very good elephant. Probably not going to win the whole game, but can probably still win this 1v1. I think it's still faster. It is. Will likely die to this Chimecho, but I don't think Chimecho is too long for this world with the 2 special sweepers in the back. Second noise of the Dedenne, getting to heal block it. Probably going to get nuzzled here. Yep. Slows it down, unfortunately, and the second noise is not going to kill the Dedenne. I mean, I think the play at this point is just to chip Chimecho as much as you can, right? And then throw in Keldeo, who is going to start Calm Minding to boost in the Chimecho's face. Is going to click Surf and will seal the deal, giving Fish with Launch the win and sending them to Grand Finals. Thank you, Hazel, for playing. That was incredibly unlucky. Such is the way the random battle cookie crumbles. And for those wondering, Brazil and Morocco have tied the game at 1-1 at the end of the game. I'm going to go ahead and send Barry Ann into ping in case they are not awake. And then, pretty soon, we are going to get into Grand Finals. Rain has responded. They are awake. Fish for Launch is checked in. Just waiting for them to start the match. Oops, the old room. Alright, and here we are in Game 1 of Grand Finals. Barry ending on wing side and Fish for the launch on the loser side. This is a first to 3 or a best of 5. We have 2 poison types staring each other down, Reveroom and Muck. Reveroom is probably better in this situation. Alright. They're hitting each other, that's for sure. Gonna go ahead and get Tauros in here with eating an Iron Head. Piloswine. Piloswine is adorable. Gonna eat a close combat from Tauros. Kind of forgot Tauros learned close combat, to be completely honest with you. I just did not know that it learned that off the top of my head. Gonna switch out into Politoed. Setting Rain. Gonna eat Nice Crash for incredibly minimal damage. Politoed can feel free to start hitting water moves here. This is unclear exactly what thread is gonna be, and it's gonna be Goodra. Good old Hisuian Goodra. Gonna get Hypnosis, unfortunately. But this thing is a demonic special wall. It eats so many special attacks. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any reliable recovery, which kind of sucks, but yo, Gyapdos? There's like Gyapdos on my screen. I'm hype. This Pokemon is fucking hilarious. It is bulk up. It is click close combat. It is doing Gyapdos things. Armarouge switches in. And it Terra Dark's knockoff to kill the Armarouge, and Barry has all of a sudden put themselves in a pretty commanding lead. Piloswine and Hisuian Goodra both struggle against this Zapdos. That Ice Shard not going to do very much, and Piloswine is also going to go down. Rand is currently up 6-3. Going to eat a Power Whip, which finally does it. Unfortunately, the Gyapdos will go down, and Barry will not get the sweep. I love Gyapdos. Another great chicken, to be honest with you. Zarude is going to come in. I don't know what this thing is. Some kind of monkey, maybe. I don't fucking know. But he's there, and he's the weirdest mythical, I think. Oh, I love Zarude. I'm glad you do. I don't know what he does. He clicks physical grass and dark type moves, and that is currently what he's doing here. Killing the sleeping Goodra. Giving Ursaluna an entry point now. That's a Pokemon. Alright, if we are playing quick, Terra Normal Swords Dance. No Flame Orb burn because of the knockoff. You know what? I'm going to switch perspectives so that we can see the fucking bear. The threatening bear. It's hitting Facade. Ooh. Now this is a good bear. A little bit of a slow bear, admittedly, but is currently at +2 and pretty threatening still. Close combat from Tauros is going to take it down, though, leaving Fish launch with just a Poltergeist, or sorry, Brambleghast, not Poltergeist, oh my god, which is going to go down to a Throat Chop from Tauros, giving Barry game 1 in, I think, the fastest game of the tournament so far. And here we are into game 2. We've got an Arboliva staring down a Basculin. Arboliva made some progress earlier by just doing Leech Seed, Hyper Voice, Protect nonsense. And that looks like what it is currently doing here, because it was forced Basculin out and can now scout whatever. Okay. Goes for the substitute. Just that Hurricane would have killed, I think. Gonna switch in Hitmonchan. Little bit of an awkward situation here. Hitmonchan does have Drain Punch, which can give it some help in this matchup. It does need to actually land a Drain Punch successfully, but it is faster, so Arboliva probably can't stall it out forever like this. But the healing that it will get from Drain Punch should be quite beneficial to its longevity in this matchup. And for the Rapid Spin to try to get rid of the Leech Seed, that's hilarious. And get a switch in Bayonet, which is immune to both Rapid Spin and Drain Punch. We'll give it a little bit more Leech Seed chip onto Hitmonchan. Knockoff, Poltergeist, usual things are happening here. Official launch, notably leaving Hitmonchan in, decides that they don't need it. They do not need to keep it around for the Arboliva. Has other plans for dealing with it. I hope so. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Iron Jugulus in again. Which will absolutely chunk a Shadow Sneak and go for Meteor Beam using the Power Herb. I did not know this was a fucking Jugulus set in Ranbats. That's hilarious. Why does everything in this generation get Meteor Beam? What the fuck? However, Meteor Beam has been disabled by Curse Body, which is probably fine. You usually only want to do it once. Duraludon is going to switch in here and is going to eat 100% for the Terra Ground Earth Power. And Iron Jugulus is all of a sudden in a very threatening position. 211 speed, which in Ranbats is pretty quick. And I do wonder what Barry's response is going to be. Alright, currently waiting to see what Barry has in the back to try to handle this Iron Jugulus. We go and throw in Amoonguss. Amoonguss can definitely make this work, however, I think if a Hurricane hits, it might just kill. I'm gonna guess that a Hurricane kills if it hits, but the Terra Water and the Hurricane misses anyways! And Amoonguss gets the Spore off, successfully slowing down the pace of this Iron Jugulus. And giving it an entry point to deal with it. It goes for the Giga Drain, gets the kill, and evening out the game for Barry. There's still a little Mushroom in. The dog, once again, the Grabble is going to switch in. You're just eating a Giga Drain, it's getting Encored. Probably doesn't want to get Spored again, is the idea here. Going to go for the crit Play Rough, but it does take some shit from the Rocky Helmet. Play Rough will probably kill again. Amoonguss is not that bulky. What the dog doing? The dog is winning right now. The dog is clicking Play Rough and winning right now. Does also outspeed Arboliva, so can potentially Encore to doing some stupid bullshit. Like Leech Seed, potentially. Oh, the Harvest back for the Citrus Berry? This set is so annoying, dude. Gonna hit Play Rough again. Encore is still a threat. Encored into Protect. Which means there's got a couple more turns of Protect here, one of which is going to go off. You're going to hit Play Rough again. Next Protect is likely going to fail. But Arboliva is basically back at full health now. And instead going to use this Fail Protect to switch into Rayquaza while Barry switches into Amoonguss. Okay, not sure what the process on that was. Rayquaza's going to hit Dragon Ascent. Take a little bit of damage from Rocky Helmet. This is a very back and forth game that is going by incredibly quickly. Both players are clicking buttons. I get the idea of the Amoonguss switch. Unfortunately, you did have to deal with a fucking Rayquaza. Bombardier comes in. Banded, I think it will probably just kill the Rayquaza one-on-one. But Gradbull can switch in and Intimidate, which is what the dog does. Eats a Stone Edge. So now the question becomes, what does Fish want to send in? And it sends in Orthworm, who is actually pretty good in this situation. I think you can kind of just eat a lot of this. Go for some coils. Get some stat boosts. Arboliva comes in. Coil again. Now, notably, Body Press will just kill this Arboliva, not letting Barry get it into an annoying position. But that gives an entry point for Sneasler, who normally would be incredibly scary, but I think because of the defense, which might not be that bad. Yep. I could not kill without the Swords Dance, giving Iron Tail an option, and I think Orthworm might just seal game 2 here for Fish for the launch. Go for Iron Tail again. And then please click Body Press for the 100 accurate move instead of click Iron Tail. Okay, thank you. You always gotta make sure. And I believe that evens up the set at 1-1. An explosive game, to be honest with you. Both players playing pretty quickly. Not a lot of switching and positioning. And now we're in game 3 with a Houndoom staring down a Cobalion. Cobalion's a really awkward Pokemon in Random Bats. I find that I really don't like to pull it, because I just think that it doesn't do like enough of any one thing to be that useful. It is going to block a Volt Switch, or sorry, it is going to force a switch somehow. Barry going to switch into Donphan and eat a Volt Switch, and then click Rapid Spin to get a speed boost. A little bit of chip on the iPhone. Which unfortunately is probably not going to be enough to stop the iPhone, and you do need to have something that can hit it a little bit harder. As good as an elephant as Donphan is, unfortunately it just does not quite have the damage in this metagame to keep up with Pokemon like this. Cryogonal is going to come in, though. Cryogonal? Cryogonal, I think is how you say that. Gonna get burned by Scald, which fucked up. I'm gonna hit Freeze Dry, which is gonna blank on a Cobalion. Both players just kind of positioning, playing a little bit careful. Comes back into Donphan, who doesn't really care about the Body Press. That's negligible damage to it. Gonna go for the Earthquake this time to get some decent chip onto iPhone. Just gonna eat a Scald. It's another Earthquake off. Getting iPhone pretty low, actually. Might not be a rest set, or might just not want to go for it. Gonna hard switch into Cryogonal, potentially reading another rest there, but is threatening a KO with Freeze Dry here. Unfortunately, can't go back into it. Goes for the Recover to get health back on Cryogonal. We are playing like a Gen 8 OU game right now. Maybe a Gen 8 UU game, looking at these Pokemon. Excuse me. Alright, and Donphan is going to switch in, eat a Body Press, and just last little bit of his health. Marianderin wondering what to throw in here. Houndoom is notably exactly 1 point slower than Cobalion. And Body Press does have a decent shot of killing it. But Barry is going to throw the Houndoom in anyways to see what it can get done. It is going to click Fire Blast on an iPhone and not quite kill it. I believe it outspeeds, though, and should just be able to finish it off here. Yep, we'll just be able to hit it with a Dark Pulse and finish the job. Evening out the game. However, Kingdra is coming in, and another Water type. It's a pretty damn good type. They're going to go for Dark Pulse. Setting up Rain Dance with Kingdra to get the speed boost and boost the Water type moves is pretty scary. Notably, it does no longer explode to a Freeze Dry from Cryogonal now. It might actually be able to do something in return. However, going to hit Wave Crash and lose most of its health and actually die from the recoil after Life Orb, leading to a direct trade. And most players are now just sitting here. However, with 3 turns of rain still left, Gyarados can switch in and abuse it and hit some powerful moves, but he's in a pretty interesting situation. Gonna Terra Flying to survive the Volt switch. Rayquaza's gonna come in and airlock away the rain. Alright, we are gaming today. Gonna go ahead and Terra Blast Flying. Eat a Dragon Ascent. Will live the Dragon Ascent too. It is still faster thanks to the speed boost. And I believe we'll get the kill and proc Moxie here, putting it +2 and putting him in a pretty scary situation, except for there's a Skeledirge in the back with Unaware, who will still eat 55 from Waterfall, but Shadow Ball will kill it. Another question is, what does Barry have that could potentially finish the job against the Skeledirge? The answer is a Clawitzer, who will then come in with a Water Pulse and cleanly finish it off. Fish down to their last 2 Pokemon. Going to send to the Cobalion again. Volt Switch is an option. Body Press is an option. But honestly, Clawitzer can do decent damage just by hitting. Water Pulse. Going to switch out into Darkrai. Fish launches final Pokemon, which is going to eat 83 from that Water Pulse. Going to go for the Dark Pulse and die. And fortunately, Fish launch... you know, Caragol doesn't really do much against Cobalion, so this is actually still a pretty close game. Deoxys Speed is going to be Barry's last Pokemon, which is not ideal for this, I don't think. Gonna have to hit some Psycho Boosts. I think if the next Sun hits, it will be a kill. And so this might just come down to RNG, unfortunately. However, there is Iron Head and Paralyze, which is very unfortunate set of RNG that you are playing into. And gets the Psycho Boost off, and it does kill. Mariana takes game 3, I think, putting him on set point and tournament point, I believe. 1 game away from taking home the trophy for the 2nd year in a row. And we are getting right into it with game 4 with a Fish launch with a Cryogonal this time. And Barry Handon getting the Mismagius. The players sitting here, probably scrolling through their teams, looking at what their moves are. Gonna fire off Ice Beam and Mystical Fire's pretty good for Mismagius. It lowers special attack once it kind of went out in the long run of this battle. Not this battle, this is 1v1. Ice Beam not doing really as much damage as you'd quite like. Actually, because of the Life Orb chip, I think Cryogonal still is going to get the kill here with Ice Beam, which is pretty unfortunate for Barry, but maybe not that big a deal. Mismagius is often not a Pokemon that you stake your random battle games on. Is going to switch it out, though, into a Volcarona. Red alert, there's a fucking moth on screen. For anybody who's not looking at the screen right now, there is a moth on screen. It is clicking Quiver Dance. Oh, I'm so excited. I fucking love Volcarona. I forgot this thing was still in Ranbats. Like, it got banned from OU. Why is it still here? I'm gonna dodge the Bleak Wind. And get the kill on Tornadus. And Volcarona is at 1 Quiver Dance and full health and looking pretty scary. There's a Keldeo to come in on it. Now, what is the crazy Terra Tech? Nope, just gonna go for the Giga Drain and... Oh, Keldeo goes for Calm Mind, probably predicting a switch. I don't know if that's what you wanted. Oh, Terrace to block the Giga Drain. Doesn't get the Hydro Pump off, which doesn't kill! Oh, I love the fucking Moth. If a Fire Blast hits, it will kill Keldeo, and Moth takes a 2nd victim this game. Typhlosion does enter here, which is very scary. This might be the end of the Moth's run, unfortunately. But still getting to, making good progress, and... Oop, nope, Terra Ground, Terra Blast for the 3rd one! Oh, I fucking love Volcarona. Arboliva comes in, there's no Terra anymore. If this Fire Blast hits, it is death. Oh no, it lived! It lived on 1 HP! Or 5% rather. It gets the Energy Ball off. Lives thanks to the healing. What a crazy set of games. However, Barry is still in a pretty commanding position. This Arboliva is on death's door, and anything will kill it. Cryogonal in the back is not the scariest Pokemon you're staring down. Yeah, I mean, anything Mismagius can hit this thing with, Mystical Fire will absolutely kill it. So many victims. That Moth did so much damage to Fish's team. Gonna go ahead and Mystical Fire the Cryogonal once again, just chipping down its special attack, making it a lot less useful into whatever else is on the team. Don't terribly mind losing your Miss Magus here. You're still a full Pokemon ahead, and Arboliva is almost dead. Cryogonal's at half special attack. Mastiff comes in, and that's a pretty reasonable switch. You can start hitting crunches here to just do damage to things. Take out the Arboliva, and Vileplume is Switch Launch's last Pokemon. Neither of these do terribly well to Mastiff, but so I'm going to switch out into Scrafty. Maybe for the Shed Skin? Trying not to get hacks. Honestly, Scrafty might still be useful to keep around for Cryogonal, but Cryogonal's really not, like, deleting a whole team on its own. Like, chewing through, 3 Pokemon with Cryogonal is going to be pretty difficult. I'm going to go ahead and knock off the Vileplume. There goes its leftovers. Eat a Sludge Bomb for your troubles. Vileplume will probably win this 1v1. I think it just gets a high roll. If it gets a high roll with Sludge Bomb, it'll kill. It does also have Strength Zap, for what it's worth. Drain Punch is a curious play. Gonna get Slept Forth because of Effect Spore and Strength Sapped, and gonna stay in with Scrafty. And Fish Launch is potentially clawing this game back. Gonna wake up, hit a knockoff, get a crit, and then finally go down. And Vileplume is a little lower now. Braviary comes in and should be able to finish off this Vileplume. Does the Effect Spore proc? No, it doesn't. And Cryogonal is in. We'll probably beat this bird. Not after taking some damage, though. Never mind, it just goes down. And I think with that, I believe Barry Eden has won the tournament, if I counted my games correctly. I think that was 3. I think that was 3-1 in Grand Finals. With a moth sweep at the end, just for me. Well, congratulations to Barry for once again winning the Random Bat PRIDEfgc. Twice in a row. Always a joy to have you. I hope you will pull up next year for it again, to be honest. Thank you for letting me see a moth just rip through a fucking team. Ever since it got rebanned, I've been tragically missing it. Thank you to everybody else who showed up. Special thank you to the Launch for sticking around and playing a lot through the Grand Finals. They're saying I'm Rand Bat Wolfie. Yo, Rand Bat Glick over here. I'm saying. But yeah, thank you to everyone for playing and showing up and having a blast. And I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off the stream here. As always, check out other PRIDEfgc events. We've got a whole bunch going on this weekend over at OEG and a bunch of other channels. I think they're doing Grand Blue right now. Thank you for having me. Shadows Pride, Shadow Pokemon. Absolute Shadows Pride. GG's everyone, for sure. And if you want to see more of me for whatever fucking reason, I won't be on stream, but I will be playing in 2XKO tomorrow, assuming that the registration worked properly, which I hope it did. If not, I'll get Pride to fix it. Hosted by Sakura Shrine, and there's, I think, Tekken and Strive and a couple other games still to run. There's a lot of Pride stuff this weekend. So, shout out gay Pokemon. Shout out gay Pokemon. True. With that, thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. See you next year.